All right, Plat Chat Overwatch episode 178. Wow, we got a big episode today. Big day yesterday in the world of Overwatch, guys. I can hear myself. This is great.
I hear you as well, twice.
I had the YouTube stream open and live when it went live. So we're live, guys. I heard myself. That means we're live. Wow. Plat Chat episode 178. We're going to talk a lot about PVE today. We'll obviously hit on some Overwatch League stuff towards the tail end as well. But the big news in today's episode is everything that was announced yesterday regarding PVE. We got AVRL, Custa, Zhous on here. We're now officially on our rotation, by the way. So if you're wondering where Avast is, it's not that we like bat signaled AVRL here. AVRL's part of the official rotation. So what's up, AVRL? How's the 3 a.m.?
Woohoo! Yeah, I've officially joined the rotation, so good to be here. I'm here to.
What's the time? What's the time?
Favorite team at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Jesus Christ!
This is how dedicated I am to the show.
Yeah, that's dedication.
3 a.m.
Yeah.
And so I will hopefully be asleep after the show is done, while the rest of you guys play games. Is the plan.
So what do you do? Do you sleep before the show and then do the show and go back to bed,
no.
or do you stay up?
You can't go to bed and wake up at 3 a.m.
Yeah, it just doesn't work.
It
doesn't work.
No. So the only way to do this is to literally stay up for it.
Yeah,
that's what
props to you, AVRL. I couldn't do it. I'd be like, fuck Plat Chat. I'm not doing it. Later, guys. I'm out. But you're doing it. Hardcore grind.
Johnny sweet talked me, you know.
Yeah.
He just is a soothing voice into my ears. I'm like, I might as well. I'll lock it in.
So, before we get into the big announcements of PV yesterday, we got a big announcement ourselves. You know, Plat Chat, actually. We got a big announcement. Yeah. Custa?
Yeah?
Summer's coming.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
To unveil your beach spot with Manscaped, here to ensure that your body is ready for the wild with their game-changing full-body grooming and hygiene products. Don't be the guy at the beach with Austin Powers chest hair, and if you grew some Winterman tits, the least you can do is make sure they're hairless. It's time to get ready for hot guy summer by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code PLATCHAT.
That's me, by the way.
That's me. Baby.
That's me. That's what my body looks like after using the Manscaped product.
That's how we all look like.
That's what we
all look like, Scott.
Do the before. Show me the before, Scott. We got to have the comparisons.
No. We'll decide. Okay, sorry. No, trying to keep monetized.
That's for the tier 3 subs only. I see.
I don't know what it says as the terms and the conditions, but yes, if you use Manscaped, that is what you're going to look like. It's a huge transformation. It's a game changer. When it comes to grooming products. I don't know. We've been promoting Manscaped for a long time now here on Plat Chat. I use their products. I love their products. So I have no shame in promoting Manscaped. It's great. And I feel like it's this target audience. It's the perfect match, guys. So if you go to Manscaped, they have this huge package. It's a performance package 4.0. Huge package. So if you guys just keep scrolling down, there's tons of items that go together, plus the peak hygiene plan, as you can see on your screen right now. It says save 41% right now. So, I mean, this is deal of a lifetime right here if you want to get ready for the summer. It includes the Essential Lawnmower 4.0, all new skin safe electric trimmer, the Weed Whacker. That's something I need to use. The Weed Whacker, yeah. You can trim your ear and nose hair. Lord knows, I'm getting to the point in my life where I have to start like trimming my nose hair. It's a whole new thing for me. So I'm just saying the Weed Whacker is just like comforting to know that there's product actually developed to like help me in this situation. It's very comforting. Manscaped is very comforting to help me deal with all these men hygiene things that are so scary.
Yeah, you know, we got to make sure we're groomed for the wedding. Yeah,
exactly.
Groomed for the wedding.
Jack, you're not going to be allowed in unless you show me your receipt of buying a Manscaped package.
Yeah, sure. I'll show you my weeds that have been whacked. Yeah, why not? Yeah, if that's the entry, they'll be whacked. Don't you worry.
Also,
okay, great.
You know, you can still buy it even if you're not going to a wedding. Even if look, if you're inside gaming all day, maybe that's you. You're sitting inside all summer gaming. You know, there's no fear. Sometimes we develop some ball sweat in ranked. It's all right. Manscaped helps out with that stuff. You can get the crop preserver. That's good to have. The anti-chafing ball deodorant. The crop reviver, the ball spray toner.
Wait, go back one more. The ball saver, is that what is it? If Dante had this product, further back. If Dante had this product, we wouldn't have had a problem. Go to the right, Johnny. Look, they save balls, okay? I've been to, okay, I can't promise this, but he would not have had the testicular problem if he had Manscaped product.
I don't think.
I like that you don't specify.
I'm not a doctor, and
it could be any testicular problem. Like you don't know which one it is.
No, it literally says number 1, cleanse. Number 2, get in position. It helps your balls get in position where they're not.
Exactly.
Jungle up and shit. Like, that's awful. Yeah. And of course, it also includes the magic mat with disposable shaving mats. It includes the nail kit as well. If you're wearing sandals, in the summer and you're going around the beach or whatever, and you got long nails, there's the Manscaped Cheers 2.0 nail kit as well that you can get. And you get some bonus stuff. For example, they have the bag. Which I got a few years ago. I love getting the bag. That's one. It's actually the perfect kind of like travel size. Where like if I'm going somewhere, even if it's just a weekend trip, it's like the perfect size for me to put, my shavers and razors and deodorant and all that stuff in there. So it's a deal of a lifetime, guys. It includes all the products you need to maintain your male hygiene. And as someone who's used Manscaped for a long time now, I couldn't recommend their products enough. So if you go to manscaped.com, make sure you use the code PLATCHAT for 20% off and free shipping. So there you have it. Manscaped, they're back. They're supporting Plat Chat, so we love supporting them. We love everyone at Manscaped. So there you go. Thank you, Manscaped.
When you said you had a big announcement for Scott, I totally forgot about what the segment was. I didn't know this was coming up. I mean, I knew, but I forgot. I was like, damn, what's this big announcement for Scott? Like, is he getting married again? He's getting married twice? Like, what's going on with Scott?
We're getting married to Manscaped.
This guy's just getting married multiple times.
Back to back.
Yeah.
What's better than one wedding? 2 weddings. I got married this weekend and next weekend.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you know what's tough with
doesn't see this podcast.
You know what's tough with weddings is always like the register thing. You always have to buy, like someone like the guest. I'm just gonna bring Manscaped to the wedding.
Johnny's
I'm just gonna
show up. With a comped package that he got from a sponsorship. It's like, I got this for you guys.
Trim your chesticles with the besticles, as they say at Manscaped.
Yeah, look, if you go on a honeymoon, you need hey, that's a good gift. That's a good gift. Travel bag, hell yeah. There you go.
Yep. So there you go. Shout out to Manscaped. We love you guys. All right, now let's get into the PVE stuff. Let's get into the PVE stuff.
55 minutes. Oh, this is 55 minutes of doomium.
Wait, they can't see the timer, Scott. They can't see the timer.
Oh, God, you guys are in for it.
Scott's got the HUD online. He's got the HUD on. You can see everything,
But yes, there is a lot to unpack here. So I'm ready to just like spend
should we do it like this? We'll get all the doomium out. We'll get all the Omega doomium out the gate, right? And then later on, I don't know about you guys, but I plan to finish with some measured takes and just just rain back from the doomium slightly. I'm not saying there's any copium in there, but I'm gonna rain back the doomium to like a middle ground. That'd be my plan today. We'll see if we can do that.
Yeah. All right. So this is why I tried to discuss in the Discord how we're going to approach this, Avral, so we can decide ahead of time. But yes, I feel like I feel like we have to sort of like talk about the different things going into it. So let's just start where the developers started yesterday, where they announced developer announcement kind of stream, and the developers went live and they discussed so many things regarding Overwatch. It started out with Matt having a conversation with the developers about Star Watch and what Star Watch brought to the game and everything around Star Watch, and that was like 45 minutes. And then after that, we got like 10 minutes with Aaron Keller and Jared, and they talked about the Overwatch 2 PVE roadmap and their change in philosophy and how they're approaching PVE. So that was sort of like tacked on to the end of the developer stream, where they discussed that PVE, as it was originally announced in 2019, is no longer sort of division anymore. PVE still is happening with story missions, hero missions, and stuff like that, but they canceled talent trees, so we're not going to get the talent trees that they initially showed us. There's no hero mode, there's no progression system, and that's kind of where the day started. That's when just like hell was unleashed. Like it was like the Diablo 4 release date. Come on, Solomon.
That's a good email.
Solomon, come on now. Come on now.
Are you wearing
With
the
the
same
reinforced
shirt?
pod
I know
is
it's
really
been a
good.
hard 24 hours, but are you wearing the same shirt as yesterday?
Wait, yeah, go back to that picture.
Yeah, go back. I will show
Go
me
back,
the
Solomon.
picture again. Show me the
I
picture
could use
again.
some male hygiene right now. That's all I'll say.
Yeah,
I could use some
clearly.
manscape.
Same
Oh,
shirt.
no, Johnny.
Same shirt, everyone.
Johnny.
I am sweaty. I am smelling like ranked tryhard gamer. It's not good.
You
It's
have
been
gaming.
busy 24 hours.
I appreciate that.
I have been gaming, yes, Jaws. But that's sort of like where it started, and everything just kind of blew up. I was not at my computer, so people were like, "Oh, there's a developer stream," and I'm just browsing Twitter while I'm like in a convenience store, and they're like, "Here's a roadmap," and I'm like, "Oh shit, a roadmap! This is cool." And then all hell breaks loose when people find out there's no talent tree. Custa, you play Zelda all afternoon.
Yeah, I refuse to talk about.
Discuss your mental state yesterday after that announcement.
I don't know if, like, for me, like, you, as you said, there was like a wide range of responses, because I was the same as you. Like, I saw, oh, there's developer update. I'm like, oh, sweet, I'll talk about it on stream. And then but I wasn't able to come until stream until 1. So then I just slowly started to see the tweets come in. And you know when you see like a Sumito tweet who's upset about a developer update, you're like, Sumito's always mad at the developer
Standard.
updates, it's fine. And then you see CarQ make a tweet who's like, I'm incredibly disappointed. And I'm like, something terrible has happened in the internet. So it's like, and then you start to see everything else start flowing through. And it's like, I sort of reserved judgment until I watched it on stream and I talked about it for 30 minutes. And it's like, honestly, it's just, I'm not even mad. It's just like a ridiculous level of disappointment. And like, I don't even really know, like, I don't care about blaming people. I don't care about anything. Like, this has really been the thing that we've been waiting for since 2019. It's supposed to be the thing that's going to be, in my opinion, just sort of revitalizing the Overwatch franchise in a lot of ways. And now it's just like never going to be that. And no, I don't think anything that they could say or do could ever like put my trust back in them to be able to make something that I'm going to look forward to or enjoy in that manner. And I think that's where I'm really kind of like at an impasse, because I just don't know how to feel, because I'm kind of just like lost in a way of like, what do I do now, you know, with Overwatch? Because obviously we're not that affected. We're Overwatch League and we're PvP. So none of those things are really going to drastically have an effect on our lives in the short term, maybe in the long term with the direction of the game. But for right now, it's just kind of like, well, fuck, what are we doing here?
Let's clarify.
Arrow?
There is still PVE though. Right?
Don't you fucking dare. We're gonna go deeper into this later, but don't you dare tell me there's still fucking PvE.
I just don't want to be lied to. So because all the content creators who never talk about Overwatch, who've got nothing to do with Overwatch, decide to pipe up today and tell me that PvE is completely cancelled. So I'm just trying to find out the truth, guys. Is PvE completely cancelled? That's what everyone on the internet says.
But
So,
it is in the grand scheme of like what a PvE game is. Like, there is nothing that they could release that would have the same level of impact of what we were anticipating. We've talked about this a ton on Plat Chat of like, what were our hopes and dreams, I guess, for this game and the PvE. And we were like, I was talking about Vermintide 2.
Okay, so it's been scaled down. Scaled down.
But to the point that it will never have replayability. They also haven't told us, like, they say they're bringing these things in the season. Does that mean we're going to be able to play them over and over and over again? And is there going to be a reason?
That'd be up to you. How many times does somebody
it wouldn't.
play?
It's up to the developers.
If it's up to the developers, and if there is no replayability because it's just some shitty scoreboard system where I have to get a high score, but it doesn't actually scale with difficulty, that's not PvE. That's like a small event type thing that I will play once and will give me lore. They talked that they were hyping up about, oh, here's all this great lore shit that we're going to give you, and here's all these great cinematics. You'll have a storyline. We'll further that. I don't give a fuck. Like, about lore, and there is a large audience like me who don't give a shit about that kind of stuff. I care about playing a PvE game that has progression and fun, and that's what I was sold on 2019. That's what they told me they were going to give me in 2019.
Right, so we've been
and
oversold.
they're not going to do that.
That's actually the issue. Is what we got oversold. Like,
It's not even
that's the crux of
oversold.
the
It's
issue.
that they made promises, or essentially they announced stuff like this is happening, and then they walked back on it after 3.5 years. And I think that's why people feel betrayed in a way. I think that's
correct,
where
because
that
we got
originates.
we got oversold and they underdelivered. That's actually what happened.
Well, I think the problem
It
is
didn't deliver at all.
Didn't deliver at all, yeah. Like, they're delivering a PvE. these PvE modes, which by all accounts, like, and they say story modes or whatever, by all accounts might be some sort of archives or retribution, like those kind of mini modes. It feels like it's going to be those that are like slightly more fleshed out with some lore maybe, but we're not getting a game, like a separate game that you launch from the Battle.net store or like the Battle.net client that you launch in and then group up, customize your characters, do these fucking dungeons and shit or whatever the fuck they were called, or like these missions that are story focused or maybe, you know, Vermintide-esque that are non-replayable. Like,
someone's asking me if I'm being purposely ignorant. What is being purposely ignorant is obfuscating the truth. And like just being mega, not that you guys are necessarily doing it, maybe Scott a little bit, omega hyperbolic about this, where like you have the extreme view. Like I said, I'm just gonna try and be measured today. I'm gonna be in the middle, I'm gonna sit in the middle, because me personally, I don't care too much about PvE. Like I care on some level because I would have played it and it would have been fun. But like, I don't know.
Okay, so what I feel like, okay, so if you actually like look at the interview and you look at what they said, they're like, hey, we're rethinking it. There's no talent trees. There's no hero progression system. And there's no hero mode. And on the surface level, you might say like, oh, we're just like missing 3 features of the PvE experience. Like, are they integral to like what it means to have PvE content in Overwatch? And you could argue like, no. But I think why people are so upset is because we had this expectation that it's a way larger thing, that this was going to be.
People are upset because we got overpromised and underselling. That's why I'm a people. Look, listen, this is my position on it. It's not a good thing. No one thinks this is a good thing. So I'm not saying that this is a good move. Everyone knows it's a bad move. I think people are being pretty hyperbolic about it at the same time as well. It's like PvE is fully dead. It's like, so some people are saying that the game is they're about to shut off the game, or next week the game is just the servers are gonna be shut off. Like, guys, people need to calm the fuck down like a little bit. I don't know. We did lose a lot of features because, like, Scott, you're right in the sense that the most replayable part was the part of the axing, and that is definitely a big blow.
Oh, okay, AVRL.
It's not even about the features.
Okay. Can I just say, like, so the PvE is why the game is called Overwatch 2.
The game should be called Overwatch 2.
Okay, no, but that's what we were told. It's going to be Overwatch 2. Then, do you consider the missions that we have done in the past, Archives, Junkenstein's Revenge, and this recent Star Watch, would you consider, if they bundled all of those things together?
Why'd you mention Star Watch?
Okay, because you have to, because that's how they are releasing this content. Star Watch, this event for this season, is literally the type of stuff that they have said is going to be released in the future. It might be more fleshed out, it might be better, but I'm not going to take their word for anything after everything that we've been through. So it's like, why would I assume that the PvE content that they're about to release is anything that is even close to resemble a game, or at least a PvE game in today's modern era? If you're a PvE player who likes story, who likes playing these kind of things, why would you ever play Overwatch? With the stuff that they're going to release a live service game and like drip feed it to us, is it going to be replayable? Am I going to be able to play it in the next season? How much depth is there? Like, it's not going to be anything. And if you're
you're right, it's not going to be a separate game. It's not going to be a separate PvE game, which is why they're not making it anymore. Because turns out making an entirely separate new game is a fucking insane task. And it took, for some reason, it took them 4 years to figure that out.
That's what they told us they were creating. That's why we've been through the last 3.5 years of Overwatch.
Correct. That's the mistake. They overpromised on something they shouldn't.
But then why are you defending them?
I'm not defending. Dude, don't use the D word. Do not fucking use the D word, please. Swear to fucking God, don't use the D word.
What are you arguing about then?
What are you arguing? I'm mad about it.
I'm trying to bring the hyperbolicness down a couple notches, maybe 1 or 2, and just say, like, the game isn't fucking dying. But you're not saying it is, but people out there is saying it. Look, the headlines. GameSpot literally had to change the headline of the article. There was a good article, by the way. The actual content was good. But the headline original was fucking tragic. It was actually misleading. It's actually misleading title, and they had to change it because they got it wrong. This is what I'm talking about in terms of where the misleading.
Okay, like, if you're talking about games media, I get where you're coming from, AVRL. And for people who might not understand, like, there were several websites and a lot of game content creators who literally went out and their headline was Overwatch 2 PvE is dead. they were like proclaiming it dead. That is where I get with you, because Overwatch 2 PvE is not dead. Like, we're getting the story missions, the hero missions. What is dead is the idea that we're getting a separate client. However, I'm not saying that you're
that's correct.
I'm not saying that.
I'm agreeing with you.
But yeah, I want to make that clear. But I want to at least take 5 to 10 minutes here with Custa and maybe Zhous, I don't know. Maybe not Zhous, he just cares about PvP and Mercy One Tricks. But to at least just like vent about the fact that we were so excited about the idea of the prospect of the separate client that would serve as the gateway to bring more casual players into Overwatch, to introduce the Overwatch IP and franchise to a whole new set of player base that we don't currently have access to. And so we might still get PvE, we might still get missions, we might still get all this lore, but it's going to be such a different experience from what we originally were promised with the announcement and stuff, that you can't like approach this moment and this pivot from the Overwatch team in any other way than just being disappointed at what we're not going to get. So yeah, I'm not arguing about you, AVRL. I'm just talking in general about the podcast, my emotions right now. I'm not talking to you, AVRL. I'm talking about me. Yeah. I'm talking about my emotions. I'm talking about my event. Because yeah, I'm honestly like, as someone who's been on this podcast repeatedly, just every month or every other month in the off season, and just go like, I love Overwatch, I love Overwatch IP, I love the characters, I love the lore, and I want the world to be able to enjoy this world with me. And I really wanted PvE hero progression, the missions, the PvE, the worlds, the different way to enjoy Overwatch. I wanted that to be the gateway for the world to enjoy Overwatch. And because we're not getting that to the same extent, because it's now going to be this repackaged kind of PvE mode that's just like clued into the PvP client, that is what's making me sad. And that is what I think Custa, when Custa is expressing this like disappointment, that is the similar belief that he has, that Custa is just like, man, like this could have been it.
It's a huge loss. I want to be clear. Like, again, no one say I'm defending it. I'm not defending shit. The world isn't binary. Again, this is not directly you guys consider. The world isn't binary. It's not black or white. It's not you're either fucking loving it or hating it. It's possible to be in the gray area. It would be like, bro, this is obviously bad. Nothing to defend here. It's very clearly bad. I can admit that. But at the same time, I think this is not the end of fucking Overwatch like some people are treating it. Again, that's maybe not like your position or anybody else here.
No.
There's some really fucking bad positions out there, and there's some like genuine...
But they're not here. Are they in the room with us right now? Are they in the room with us right now?
You can't take that. You can't take those takes like reasonably, right?
He's
like
right here. See him? He's right here.
For all we know, this is a better decision in the long run for Overwatch as a whole, of making sure and bolstering the live service game and making sure people continue, right? And that could absolutely be facts, and that's true, but that doesn't do anything for my disappointment of the fact that something that I've been looking forward to for 4 years isn't getting delivered. And I think the ultimate level of disappointment for me is that this news is coming so fucking late in the game. Like, we got told last year they're decoupling the PvP and the PvE aspects so that they could release the PvP, so that they could finish the PvE, so then it will be fleshed out and it will be strong. That was a year ago. I genuinely cannot see a world in which, when that decision was made, they were at least not a little aware of what the PvE was going to look like in the future. They put a lot of work into these types of things in the past, and I'm sure there was like aspects and they've been working on it in the past, but there's no way that when the PvP was launched, they weren't at least a little bit sure that the PvE was going to look drastically different and it was going to go into the live service game.
I really want to find the source, but I believe they said in the interview, and I'm sorry if I'm wrong here, but I believe they said about like 18 months ago they kind of started to pivot.
And that's where my frustrations lie. If you were going to tell us, they should have done that when they changed the direction and they pulled the PvP in, and like, they were going to go to a seasonal model. We all understand why they didn't tell us then and why this happened so late in the game, but that's just another blow to my disappointment, right? And that's where I'm just frustrated with everything. Is it like, it just like, we've been waiting for this thing for years, and Dante had a great tweet being like, what happened during the dark days of Overwatch 1 then? What do we have to show for the last 3 years that we've been struggling? there isn't the content. And obviously they probably have a very long roadmap of what it's going to look like, and we will get consistent and a lot of content from season to season, but that is not the thing that I was promised, and that's not the reason I went through the dark times for.
I kind of understand where Avril's coming from with the whole, like, every news outlet and every YouTuber and stuff is saying Overwatch 2 is dead, when in reality it's just the PVE. But what people were promised with Overwatch 2 was the single player and multiplayer aspect of the game. If you look at, like, obviously not in the same scope, but if you look at like COD, for example, there's like a campaign and a single player. Most people play the multiplayer. Campaign and the multiplayer, single player, multiplayer. And like, it's like splitting up the COD and going, okay, so you can have the multiplayer now, and then we're just going to release the, the PvE or whatever later on, or the single player, the campaign, or whatever you want to call it. But it's going to be fucking sick. We're going to hype it up forever. So the reason why people are saying Overwatch 2 is dead, because the full product as a whole, titled Overwatch 2, is kind of dead in a way. But in reality, it's only half the game, because PvP is the other half. So like, also, it's easier to say Overwatch 2 is dead rather than like Overwatch 2 PvE, like, just not saying that people are like clickbaiting or anything like that, but it's Overwatch 2 as a package is kind of over in a way, because they're not releasing this like single player or like co-op version of the game that was promised in 2019. Like, the disappointment there from the most people in the gaming sphere is that, whoa, no way, there's sick products coming out. Oh, okay, they released the multiplayer, cool, maybe I'll play that, it's free to play, whatever. But I'm really just waiting for the single player shit, because I liked Overwatch 1, maybe I like Overwatch 2 a little bit, but single player is where it's at, or like, co-op or whatever the fuck. PvE is where it's at. Like, and that getting canned is insane. Like, ridiculous. I don't think with the story modes and the lore that they're going to add to the PvE is really going to bring anybody in, because it's not like what was promised, this core game with talent trees and mastery and progression of characters and, added lore as well. Like, that's not what is going to happen with these small time, like, season based events. Like, it's not going to be it. So in reality, yeah, Overwatch 2 as a PvE game is dead. PvE, fuck's sake. PvE in reality is dead, but PvP is fine. But most people in the gaming space were focused on the PvE as Overwatch 2, so it's fucking ridiculous, and it is insane.
I have a lot of
much
friends.
more on the PvP side of things, right?
I have a lot of friends, and none of them are coming back to Overwatch again.
Yeah.
Like, I knew a lot of them that were like excited for PvE. They were like, oh, when it comes out, I'll play, but there's no way they'll come back to play any of this stuff.
And that's the problem too, because it is a gateway into, even to benefit us in a small way. It's a gateway for people to play the PvE, love the characters, and go, oh shit, there's a multiplayer portion of this game. Boom, let me just fucking load that shit up. Maybe I run around as maybe your favorite character in the PvE was like Zen, and then you play fucking the multiplayer and you're like, oh, I can play Zen, and you play Zen, they said there was going to be cross progression with skins potentially as well. So like, you get skins in the PvE, which you can use in the PvP. So like, that kind of ability to draw audiences from either side and then cross-pollinate and make Overwatch as a brand bigger as a whole, and then maybe obviously make Overwatch League and like competitive bigger as well in some sense. Like, that bridge is no longer there. It's been completely burned, because now it is just Overwatch 2 PvP with some story missions, So it's that bridge, unfortunately, is not, like Scott said, some of his friends aren't really going to touch the PvP anymore, which is sad.
So can we all agree that the number 2 is a problem here? Because if we didn't have the whole Overwatch 2 thing happening, and this was actually just still Overwatch 1, just Overwatch, ideally we wouldn't have had the giant, how long was it, 3-year hiatus as well from content. We just continued as we were, then, we'd probably be where we are now. Because Johnny, you actually had a tweet that people were not happy about, although I felt like...
I think I wrote the most controversial tweet of all of yesterday.
I think it was controversial, but like, it was controversial because people had heightened emotions about it, which fair enough. I can understand why. But at the same time, it's like, objectively speaking, you weren't technically wrong. And that's like, the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, the whole Overwatch 2 thing brought a lot of expectations to this entire thing with what it was meant to, because people are saying, oh, well, what's the point of this? It's not really a sequel then, is it? Well, I never thought this was a sequel. I never really, like, to me, this was always an update. And the whole, like, 2 thing is what gets people stun locked all the time. And should have never have been called Overwatch 2. Maybe it was a marketing thing.
Oh.
It was supposed to be. That's it. Like they should just remove the 2 now because the PVE doesn't exist. The reason it's called Overwatch 2 was because it was doing something different, right? We all agree with you that the PvP hasn't changed, and if they just wanted to keep putting resources into it, we'd probably all still be here. We'd still be doing our thing. That's not what we're mad about. And as I said, we're gonna keep pottering along. If anything stronger,
the promises being broken. That's what. So there's expectations that got set. And they were the depth. So when you actually read, like, the GameSpot articles outside of the really cringy, misleading headline was really accurate. Okay, they did change the headline later, whatever. But the article in terms of the questions were really good in terms of like just getting into the thought process behind everything. There's a bit of PR speak in there from Aaron and co. But when you really peel back the layers, it's just extremely clear that they were way over their heads. And people, you know, I've heard some takes like, well, why didn't they hire more developers? The Overwatch team development right now is the biggest it's ever been. It's actually pretty huge. But to make an entirely separate game, because that's really what it is when you're making PvE like this, especially the scope that they were going for. And people were talking like, oh man, is it going to be like Destiny based? Brother, if you've played Destiny, you know that's just impossible. The scope that they were going for, even if it's not Destiny big, was so big that they literally making 2 separate games that are both live service games, and then keeping up with 2 live service games at the same time as one studio. That's actually impossible. The crazy part is why it took them 4 years to realize that, because we all agree they should have realized that way sooner. You even talk about 18 months ago. It's like, bro, they should have realized that years ago, not 18 months ago even. Because when you really put it down to perspective, this entire PvE thing probably shouldn't have been more than the story missions we were getting now anyway. That's not justifying, like, that, again, this is not a good thing, because I'm just saying they shouldn't have even overpromised. They shouldn't have even promised all this content in the first place that they were never going to be able to deliver. Because when you really put it out into perspective, you can easily understand why they had to cancel the shit, because it's way too big in scope.
Yeah, that is one part of it. There were quotes about them in the past where they said that each hero would have about 40 to 50 talents per hero. That was a quote that was out there. I made the math quick on stream. That means the game would have had, with 37 euros, about 1,850 different talents. Maybe not a very fun thing to develop.
Another 40 to 50 with every new hero, which is 3 of them per year.
That's just ridiculous, yeah. But as much as we can discuss, you know, whether it was feasible to undertake this big of a mission, to release this big of a game, well, what I'm curious about is, was Overwatch 2 PvE, as they had in mind with the hero mode and everything, and the progression and everything, was that fun? Was it fun? And they were like, yeah, it's fun, but it's too big for us to give up on. Or like, we have to give up on it because it's too large of a prospect. Or was it also Overwatch 2 PvE is actually not that fun, and we don't know how to make this fun, and we can't really release this, what we're currently working on, because people are just going to be like, wait, this is it? This is all you got? They did say in the GameSpot article that when it came to the new Halloween event, what's called Wrath of the Bride, that used essentially all the elements that they had planned for PvE. I'm not going to say Star Watch, because Star Watch, when you break it down, it was a PvP mode. There were attackers and defenders on either team, and yes, there was like a Doomfist who was being silly and stupid and everything. But Wrath of the Bride was really the Halloween event that they were, the quote is, that was using all of our new mission technology that we had developed for Overwatch 2. And so I'm reading that, and I'm thinking, okay, so you did Wrath of the Bride. That was all the technology that you had in store for the missions. And I'm guessing here, of course, that they just couldn't justify releasing that as a separate client and putting a price tag on it. In my mind, there's no way that Overwatch PvE was this revolutionary kind of game, and they just scrapped it because of sheer like amount of time or resources it would take to develop. Surely they built a stack. They started out, we're like, guys, we're making Archives 2.0. Oh, let's add on the hero missions onto Archives 2.0. Oh, let's add on talents. Oh, let's add on progression. And at the end of the road, they were like, we got this, we've been cooking, we got this omelet of stuff. In the omelet, there's hero missions, there's story missions, there's talents, there's progression. And they were like, the omelet fucking sucks. Like, it's, sorry, like, the omelet is just bad. Like, we cooked with lots of ingredients, and the final product, Overwatch 2 PVE, as we initially thought, it's not fun, and it doesn't justify the price tag. That's kind of where my conclusion is, that they set out this mission to develop Overwatch 2 PVE as a separate client, and it just wasn't fun enough, it wasn't deep enough, it didn't have enough, repeatability or replayability, sorry, and they decided, like, we should just go back to basics and just release this seasonally, as they hit on in the GameSpot interview, that they're pivoting from this big monolithic release of Overwatch 2 PvE is here, here's all the missions, here's all the stuff, here's all the campaign, and instead they're just going to release everything seasonally. That kind of is my working theory on what went wrong here.
I'm going to come in here with like a real incredibly toxic take of, I think they realize they can make more money by doing it in a seasonal model, and it means they have to do it less polished.
You might not be wrong. You might not be wrong.
I think
that's my take.
I definitely think there's an element of that. The problem is we will never know the true reason, because Blizzard, if that ever got out, that, well, in fact, we might do, because the amount of developer bleed that we've seen over the last few years, especially in the games industry, and then rehiring, even in the tech industry, right, as a whole, is crazy. COVID, they're letting so many people go from COVID now. Like, oh, fuck it. Like, you know, we hired too many people in COVID from work from home and shit like that, and now we're just going to have to let loads of people go. And even before then, people were being let go or people were leaving. It feels like maybe that is the case, that it wasn't actually that fun to begin with. And they were like, oh, you know, fuck it. But maybe a portion of that is because of the amount of developer bleed and the amount of people walking in and out the door every few months or every couple of years or whatever, that the original people that set out to make this game, Project Titan, you know, all the way back when, but even in 2019, the people that were sat there in the offices making the game at that point are probably not even fucking here anymore. And so eventually the design documents that get made up and drafted for various modes, characters, abilities, skill trees, all these design documents that were like handed to people that are like walking through the door, now sitting down to start develop the game. People are like, what? Like, what's the original vision? You yourself as an architect are always going to make what you think is the best thing, right? If you then hand the fucking, you know, the script book, the fucking instructions on how to make this thing, or like what the vision's supposed to be, that person's never going to be able to recreate, or even with the perfect level of instructions, what you set out to originally make to begin with. So like with the amount of people that have been laid off or like moved, and we've heard tons of fucking stories. There was a tweet from an ex-developer, Blizzard, now that works for Wright Games, saying like, you know, Bobby would come down and be like, hey, make all this shit for Overwatch 1. Actually, you know, fuck it. Like, oh no, actually do this thing. Oh, fuck it. Like, you know, so there's a lot of shit that has happened over the last few years that has probably led to a point where they're like, we don't even know the original fucking vision anymore. We don't know where we're going with this, or like how it should be made, because the people that came up with this shit are gone. So I feel for the developers now being in a situation where they've had to scrap this thing that has been on people's radars for fucking ever, and has taken development time away from what Overwatch was originally when it released, like Overwatch 1, like this PvP game, which to be fair was also supposed to be a PvE, like with Project Titan. It's changed hands so many times that I feel for the developers now that sit there like, well, fucking hell, like what are we supposed to fucking do? Like, what are we supposed to carry on this thing that we don't really have faith in, or maybe we don't see working? Or are we going to do what has been happening over the last couple of years with Overwatch 2 as a PvP game, as a live service model? Like, it just seems like a convoluted fucking mess, and I would love to know the stats and like who's actually there originally, who came up with all these ideas back in like Project Titan age, or even like around 2019 when they announced the PvE mode, you know, like there's got to be a portion of people that are still around from those times, like surely. And it's frustrating because, yeah, all these promises were made, and then it's like, well, now you're the new devs, so you have to fucking develop this shit.
It's just pure incompetence. Like, my pushback on what Scott said is Hanlon's razor. Like, never attribute to malice what can be adequately explained by stupidity, or in this case, incompetence. Because you're assuming they're like, there's some level of like, I don't know, scheming behind the scenes, when like the perfect explanation is that they just fucked up. They just literally couldn't do the work. because they thought they could do it, but the scope was too big. They scope creeped the hell out of the thing and realized they couldn't execute on it anymore. Because there's no way, look, do you really think all these developers put in 4 or 5 years work of time and then just willy-nilly flush that shit away?
It's the opposite of that. It's probably a set of developers working on it, and then them leaving or it changing hands, then moving position, and then
that's all part of the incompetence. That's all part of it, because that all adds to the fuckery behind it. Where I mean, it's you hear stuff like this with game studios that have fucked up before. Like when you look back at Jason Schreier's article, who by the way he had a good take about this whole Overwatch situation. If we ever want to take a look at that. About the Anthem development from BioWare and how it all happened and how many years they wasted, like 4, 5, 6, 7 years on pre-production and different, like, you know, different things they were trying to get done, then scrapped and restarted again. It actually sounds a lot like the behind the scenes of some of the, you know, Overwatch 2 stuff from what Tracy Kennedy, who's the dev we were talking about, of Bobby coming down, I'll do this, and then that getting scrapped. Just all this fuckery behind the scenes. It's all part of the incompetence. This Jason Schreier take was actually reasonable. Like, this is the kind of measured take that I'm talking about, you know? And this guy's got like real insight that he's had in the past as well. And it adequately explains the situation. It is just literally the Blizzard Team 4 team biting off way more than they can chew, and then them realizing, oh, we fucked up, this is way too much work, we can't do this.
Yeah, so while we're on this topic, I want to go back into news presenting host mode, because I do believe that there are some people listening to this podcast who haven't fully understand the grasp of everything that's been announced, everything that's been talked about yesterday. So if we actually go to the GameSpot article, it's massive. It's a huge article, and we're not going to go through all of it. But I did write down notes of some more important tidbits from this one. And as it relates to that disorganization, Jared says some like really like insightful stuff that's not directly related to actually the PVE game, but just like his role within the team as the executive producer. So if you pull up the GameSpot article, Jared comes out, and one of the first things he says is like, hey, I'm actually one of the most recent additions to the Overwatch team. I don't know exactly when Jared joined the Overwatch team, but it essentially says that he came into this Overwatch developer team. He was faced with the idea, I think, is this it? When you make a plan originally, it's based on a general idea and direction. Then you said you develop a game, it's not developing a piece of bank software or something where there's this finite set of functions it has to have. When you get into the meat of it and you start filling out, it's like, okay, well, this is fun. Is this good? Is this the original idea that we think is going to be awesome? And then you reiterate on that. Jared essentially says in this article somewhere that he came into this team and was like, okay, you guys are making a PvE client mode. And he was like, this might not make sense, guys. We probably have to rethink the way we're doing PvE. So he came into this team and was like, guys, this is kind of messed up. You have 2 different teams and we need to shuffle this around. There's a later quote to a different answer where he says, and I had to pause when I read this. He says, I spend most of my day dealing with organizational issues. And I'm like, wait a second.
Oh my God.
You don't deal with like, look, I don't know what his title like actually rolls around, like what he actually, like what are your meetings about? Are you like in a meeting just like, what are we doing for season 17, guys? What content, like what drives our metrics? Like I have no idea. I have no insight to what Jared's role is. But it says here, so the question is, people are going to think, well, those devs are going to get laid off or moved elsewhere. What is the impact of not doing PvE anymore going to have on the team? And Jared says, as a person who spends most of his time talking about organizational issues, one of the really cool things is we're able to take a bunch of people who have awesome expertise building new enemy times, big PvE missions, and big PvE worlds, and integrate them into a live game team with everybody else on the team. So instead of having this big monolithic PvE side of the game and a PvP side of the team, now we're sort of bringing everything together into a group that's focused on what is our live experience, what is the season over season experience. So that essentially tells me that what Zhous touched on, that some of the original like design members of PvE might be gone, and Jared has come into this situation. And Jared strikes me as like a get shit done kind of guy, where he came into this situation and he's like, you got a separate PvP team, you got a separate PvE team, this is not viable, we need to combine both of those teams, and this monolithic release is not going to be what you think it is. We can't just have Overwatch 2 PvE just released as a separate client, as a separate game with a price tag on it that's not PvP. Like, it's all over the place. And so he's trying to streamline everything. And they also touch on that, like, we're moving away from the monolithic release to a season over season experience that Custa touched on as well. That they still want to release some PvE content without the progression systems, but they want to release it seasonally because it doesn't make sense to do it monolithically. So Jared strikes me as a guy who just came into this whole mess since 2019 and was like, what the fuck are we doing? We need to restructure the way we're doing things, and we need to rethink what we're actually doing here. And that's what this whole process has been for like a year and a half, 2 years. Jared's been like, guys, what are we doing? Let's streamline this shit and actually get on a path to delivering consistent content throughout. And the big kind of, I don't even know how to describe it, just the big shame is that you need to come out and actually release the news that, like, there's not going to be this monolithic release. It's not going to be what you guys think, and this is the most reasonable way for organization to work. It's just doing things season over season instead, and combine the PvE and PvP team and just work together on this instead of having two different teams. So when people ask, like, what happened for the last 3.5 years, the quote about organizational issues, like, really strikes me. There's like something went wrong with the way they designed these teams and set up different teams for PvE and PvP, and Jared had to come in and, like, guys, we gotta fix this. We gotta fix our organization flow chart or whatever. I don't know. Bit of a rant.
I think it's impossible to know where the failure really comes from, who it is. As much as I'm obviously disappointed, like in a lot of the player bases as well, there's a lot of people who probably put a lot of time and a lot of effort into trying to create this thing and make it go, and it obviously didn't come to fruition. So I feel for those people. Yeah, maybe people like Jared, a lot of people who are currently working at Blizzard got caught holding the bag, right? And they're the ones who have to be the bearer of bad news that this isn't coming. Like, some people want to point the finger at early developers. Some people want to point at Bobby. Some people want to point at Jeff, right? Like, we genuinely don't know. That information isn't there. And that's fine. Like, I don't think you have to be mad. You don't have to find someone to blame. Like, the whole point of what I'm trying to work through is just like, I'm just really disappointed because, like, I fucking love this game. And this is the thing that I've been holding on to for like an incredibly long time. I've been here since 2018 when we first heard rumors of PvE's coming, Overwatch 2's coming. And that was like a really exciting thing. And it just sucks that we've gone, 4 years since then, 5 years since then. We went through a fucking global pandemic holding on to hopes and dreams of this great PvE game. And it just doesn't come to anything. And I think there's a lot of people like that.
Let's keep going there, Custa. They've disappointed us with this news. They disappointed us with this news that there's not going to be a separate Overwatch PvE client. It's now going to be folded into this PvP aspect of the game. There's not going to be this huge Overwatch 2 release. A lot of the player base is feeling distrust with the developers. They feel like they can't trust the developers. They feel like they've under-delivered and not, they've delivered on their promises. How do the developers from here restore your trust in them, essentially? How, after disappointing the player base in such a massive way with this news, how do developers win back the player base? How do they win back the game community at large, which is now just like shitting on them? Is there any coming back from this, and how should they get it done?
I think that's the right answer to that.
Yeah, you don't want my answer. I don't want to say this answer on Plat Chat.
I don't think there's an answer to that.
I want to know.
In general, it's impossible to restore the trust after something this massive goes down. Like, there's just not. I think the best thing they could probably do is stay off fucking Twitter. That's for fucking sure. And stay off social media for a long fucking time and just don't read that shit because people are just fucking crazy in general. But I think just getting your fucking head stuck into PvP and just like making the next few seasons like really fucking good with events, skins, whatever the fuck, just doing good shit. Because I don't think you're ever going to be able to restore the trust of a lot of people at this point. Especially the people that are waiting on PvE. It only takes one slip up like this and Blizzard have already been painted as the fucking bad guy for years, and it does feel like a lot of the time the Overwatch League and Overwatch does take a lot of L's, and it's very sad. Like, as people like in this fucking call that rely on the Overwatch League or like Overwatch ecosystem and everything else as like a way to make money and like live, exist. in the real world. Like it's fucking tough to go through, and I can't. And like that's just us. Like imagine how the developers feel right now, like losing all of this, like all these fucking battles left, right, and center, and like not releasing the PVE, and now having to pivot towards PVE. I like half don't blame them for having like a 10-minute segment at the very end of the fucking Star Watch thing and be like, oh shit, yeah, shit, it's not releasing.
Well, they could have given us something good, something to look forward to. They could have given us at least a sneak peek on something fun.
Well, yeah, they did give us the road back, but they definitely should have given us a little bit more. But like at the end of the day, like nothing could have been enough.
You can't say that you're gonna not deliver on your promise and then give us a roadmap of things that you're promising. Like how is anyone gonna take that with it? Like I have no optimism for any of these things on this list.
And there's nothing they could have done. They could have announced the next support hero, the next tank hero, into the next DPS hero, and they could have shown fucking footage of every single one of them fucking going crazy. I wouldn't have mattered. It would not have fucking
Here's something
mattered.
that can happen. This isn't gonna fix everything, but if they're gonna take some steps, one of the important steps is, and we saw that in the roadmap, whatever that big story missions thing is right in the middle, front and center was, that needs to actually be good. Whatever's left of this PvE that can be salvaged, because I'm gonna say it again, there's something left of the PvE. It's not 100% dead. You could even argue it's 70% dead, 80% dead, whatever number you want. Whatever's left that is still gonna be released, that needs to be reasonable. It needs to be like a little bit good. It needs to be like better than archives. If they can at least start there, that's a first step. They got to make some steps. I don't know that trust can be fully rebuilt, but you can start trying, and that would be the way to start.
It's about results. It's not about promises anymore. It's not No Man's Sky. It's not No Man's Sky where it's like, hey, we're delivering this game and it's going to be epic and you can travel between worlds. No Man's Sky, there's a great documentary on YouTube about this, about how they restored faith in their player base by actually getting stuff done, by actually releasing content, by actually fixing the game. And that is the path we're on now as Overwatch, where it's not about what's coming. It's not about what we're looking forward to. It's about what the game is. It's about being objective about the game experience that Overwatch delivers and improving that and proving and generating that trust over time. Delivering. It's not about promising roadmaps anymore.
I would say, for me, the biggest issue that they're going to run into is the public perception of the game, which has already been trashed. But now we already, like, on top of that, we now have every top content creator, every person talking about how bad Overwatch is. Now this is like the nail in the coffin for a lot of people, right? Of like, see, Overwatch truly is dead. There's no, like, at least when PvE was on the horizon, everyone was going to come back and play it at this point. Overwatch doesn't have anything shiny to look forward to anymore. And then the next issue that I think you run into is, if you're an Overwatch content creator, we already had most of them 1 foot out the door, just waiting for one thing. Now they're almost fully out there. They're just going to wait for the slightest nudge. A new game comes out. Anything happens. People are going to jump ship instantly because there isn't that thing to look forward to anymore. There's no reason to remain in this space. And I'm worried you're going to see a mass exodus of content creators and like the top content creators that's going to have this effect where it's just like all of a sudden Overwatch is going to lose more and more relevancy as people stop playing it.
I always look back to the fact that they put all this time into the talent trees, and I wonder if anything of that can be salvaged. Because what you said earlier, Johnny, is really interesting, where it's just like, if it was at least reasonably good, they didn't have to kill the whole thing, right? They could have salvaged something. They could have just scaled it down and be like, okay, we're not doing 50 talents per hero. We'll do 10.
Did you read past the headlines, Avral? They addressed this in the GameSpot article. They say that they're going to repurpose a lot of that PvE content. And they say that a lot of the talents, they'll find a way to integrate it into missions and augment abilities like Battle for Olympus, for example. I'm not talking about that, though. I understand that's what they said, but I'm talking about like the hero mission stuff that was originally promised, but like a scaled down version of that instead of just deleting hero missions, right? That's what I'm trying to refer to. Where
I don't think Blizzard would want to do that, though. We spoke about it.
If it sucks, they wouldn't want to do that. So that's why I'm saying, like what Johnny said earlier about maybe it just really did suck. That legitimately could be the case. But I'm thinking like you would have retained a tiny little bit amount of modicum of trust more if they didn't kill the whole thing and just develop it further. Because if the real problem was that, we don't have the resources, we don't have the time, it would take too long, you could release something that is like, I don't know, like a smaller version of the hero missions and then add content to that later on through time. If that's the issue, right? So if time isn't the issue, then
it instantly gets shit on because it's like, this isn't the fucking game we wanted.
This is getting shit on anyway.
I have a shit on any box price game.
I have a question. Like, how? Okay, so where are you? What kind of quality are you expecting these missions out of? So obviously, talent trees, progression, all that kind of stuff is out, right? Out the window. Of the replayability of these like short missions they're going to release, because they're essentially watering down and sort of segmenting all of these things, and they're going to release them by season, so the story will.
You're talking about the story missions?
Yeah, the story missions that are going to come through. What kind of quality do you think they could produce that would satisfy the audience? Because obviously it needs to be from what we had at the end and what we have now with our, Star Watches and our archives. How good does it need to be to make people excited about it, right?
I don't know what the audience expectation is, because people have wildly different expectations. If you want to ask me what my what would satisfy me,
yeah, that's what I'm asking.
You'd have to. So just me personally, not the rest of the audience, because I don't know what they want.
Yeah, everyone's different.
Because everyone wants different things. But for me personally, if they released not one mission, but at least a part 1 campaign, like how long would a campaign, like if you would think about like this, if you were to buy this game as its own game, or just forget about buying, just playing it, and maybe it's a free to play, and you were to buy this as a full standalone, play it as a full standalone, what level of content would you require for this to be an acceptable game to play? That would, the minimum viable product there, the MVP, the minimum viable product there would be my expectation. So maybe that's like 5 missions straight up out the gate. And
you want them to give you? You think they're going to give us? I think you like.
No. That's not what I said. I think they're going to give. You asked me what I would like to see. You asked me what would satisfy me. I didn't say that's what they're doing. I said that's what would satisfy me.
And you're on the lower end of what people expect, right? So like that's sort of what I think is like. I don't think they could produce anything that would satisfy the people that are upset right now. And
Probably not.
And that's where I think the issue is they're going to release something, whatever this thing is in season 6. I forgot what it was called. And I just don't see any world in which that has enough content to satisfy anyone and make them feel like.
I'm sure there's enough. I'm sure there's enough people calling me contrarians. I'm sure there's enough real contrarians out there that Blizzard could release fucking 100 missions. They wouldn't be satisfied because it doesn't have the quote unquote replayability, right? So, like for some people, there is no satisfaction. For some people, they're not satisfied unless we literally go back to 6v6. That's what some people. For some people, they wouldn't be. That would be the level that they want to go to. They're not satisfied unless the battle pass is deleted and loot box is back. That's legitimately what some people think. But I think if they at least release something that's much better than archives, that would be like the minimum for me. Again, not my expectation, but you asked me what I'd be satisfied with. Much better than archives.
The general expectation, though, is to release a $60 box game that you can play. That has like a campaign, a story mode, that has co-op that you go through and it's replayable. Like that's the general expectation. How much value do you get out of a $60 boxed game? You know what I mean? Like $1 an hour, like 60 hours worth of gameplay, probably more because they said it was going to be replayable, right? Infinitely replayable, these talent trees and shit. But that's kind of what people expect. They don't want just like slightly souped up or like Archives 2.0 or whatever the fuck. They want a game that is lore based and has missions, co-op and shit like that. Maybe not $60, maybe it's cheaper, maybe it's more expensive, I don't know. But I think the general expectation is that it's a new game. There is a game there that is not just an add-on to the PvP, that is a full game that is completely separate. And they can't hit that. If they put out a small product that was an updated version of Archives or whatever, people would fucking shit on them for it. And because it's not the thing that was promised, because it's not this giant fucking title that's going to go crazy for the next few years, and that people are it's going to be infinite replayable.
Here's a real take. You know what? If they wanted to develop story, because they were like going hard in on this, and I don't know when you guys first heard about Overwatch 2. Scott, you said 2018. The first time I had heard the words Overwatch 2 spoken by credible source to me was in 2017. Somebody uttered the words Overwatch 2 to me, and I was like, that's bullshit. That's a lie. 2 years later, it got announced. So 2017 was when I first heard about Overwatch 2, and that was a year after the release of the game. I'm like, why the fuck are they making this game? Why the fuck are they talking about Overwatch 2 a year after the release of the game? That's my position on that. Because originally. So
originally it was supposed to be a PvE game.
So my point in like how could they have better spent their time is, bro, if you want to do lore and you want people to have something they can enjoy lore from, do Arcane instead. If they put their time into that, they don't have to make a second fucking game, a second live service on top of their other live service and do 2 fucking live service games at the same time, which as we know now is actually an impossible task. Instead of doing that, which is impossible, they could have done Arcane. They could have hired out a third-party studio just like Riot did. Maybe they are doing, maybe the Omega Copiums that could still be happening right now, but probably not. Who knows? But if they put, because it fucking worked for Riot, worked for Cyberpunk, if this shit actually does work. If you want to develop story and lore, there's other ways to do that other than PVE. I don't know why, or maybe I do know why. It's obvious, but they clearly shouldn't have fucking stun locked themselves on PVE and then have this be the result.
So we need to kind of move on with the show. But I'm just gonna say, if you're listening to this podcast waiting for us to talk about the Overwatch League, this is not the episode, guys. Sorry, because we're gonna talking about PvE at least for a little bit here, just before we move on. I do want to bring up the roadmap and what's actually on the roadmap, and what they said is coming for the future. So as we take a look, Season 5, there's going to be things as Quest Watch, new limited time event, no idea what that is. Mischief and Magic, no idea what that is. Maybe it's like a, what's called Overwatch web browser thing, like we have no idea, whatever. Cinematic reveal, Summer Games, like there's no game-changing kind of content coming our way. Season 6, with the story missions, I'm not even going to talk about the hero, because the hero is expected at this point. But a new game mode in Flashpoint. It's speculated that the Gothenburg map and the map from India is going to be Flashpoint maps. And story missions is like the big thing. When I read through the GameSpot article, they can't stop talking about Season 6. Season 6 need to be the new gold standard for what an Overwatch season is. It can't just be this one, hey, Season 6, this is what we're doing to make up for the lack of PvE client, and that's about it. Season 6, I don't even care about Season 2, Season 3, like what we had, like, oh, cool, new map, cool, new hero. Season 6 needs to be the new gold standard. So I'm asking you guys, what do you want to see from Season 6? Like, how could they possibly deliver when it comes to hero mastery and story missions and all the new content they're integrating? If they're truly pivoting away from a whole new PvE client to a season by season model when it comes to PvE as well, what does Season 6 need to look like for you? How did it need to deliver on this promise?
I mean, can I quickly jump in and say Season 5, I have a mad, I think it's going to be high fantasy themed, just on the Quest Watch and shit like that, like Mischief and Magic. It looks like high fantasy. I just want to put that out there into the universe right now, because I think high fantasy theme would be sick for a battle pass. But I will talk about Season 6, and I want to start this out, and I want to say my expectations and like how I view the game is feel like is very different from everybody else, or like for the majority of people. And I did get that feeling yesterday when I was on stream, and I was streaming, and I was kind of fucking jumping in and chatting shit about the update. And I think this goes for you three as well. Your expectations for some stuff like this is also going to be a little bit different. Maybe it's higher, maybe it's lower. But for me, like, I am very much like, I play the game and I only play ranked. And I don't really care about the other modes. Like, I'll play Overwatch. I played the Hanzo mode for a little bit. I played, I'll play the fucking Junkenstein like once a year. I'm very like low expectations when it comes to this stuff. The hero progression thing seems pretty sweet. I'm glad, like, maybe I'll have a different skin for the orbs on Zen if I get like 1,000 kills or whatever. Like, I like that stuff, because that's progression for me, is like showing something else that is not just like rank on my screen. And that is one of the reasons why I only play games in a ranked format, because I don't find enjoyment in quick play ever, really. Like, every now and then I'll jump in to fuck around or like warm up or whatever, but like, I'm in the game to play ranked, and that's it. I struggle to sit down and play single player games. So like, when it comes to these story modes and stuff, my expectations for those are going to be pretty low. However, for other people, they are going to be exceptionally high. And I think this like gold standard you're talking about will be different for everybody else. But for me, it would be an archives-y kind of event where there's lore and shit like that, but there's maybe small skill trees, and you can update your character, and maybe it takes you a couple of hours to kind of complete. That's my kind of expectation from these like story modes and these like golden seasons. And if we don't have these golden seasons every single 3-4 times a year, and we have them every other season, for example, every other battle pass, that for me would be okay, because I am much more focused on playing competitive and only playing ranked and like getting better as a support or a DPS or whatever. So for story modes, I just want the more casual people to have fun and like maybe spend a couple of hours and not just like run through Junkenstein a few times to get a high score. For me, that's what's the standard for those kind of seasons. 2 hours worth of content, maybe more. Customize your character and fucking rank up with some skill trees and that shit. And then more customization for player profiles and stuff. But this is getting onto like a wish list of things. But every other season, there should be a few hours worth of content that satisfies the lore heads and the story mission lovers, you know? That's what my expectation for season 6 is and going onwards. But
I'm curious about...
I am very low on the expectations ladder because I only like playing ranked.
I'm curious about that hero mastery little thing that is in the middle right.
Course.
Looks like a practice range hero thing.
Yeah.
Is it? Fuck, so
Also, if they update
be...
training range, holy fuck, please say firing range.
I don't expect that,
bro.
It's just gonna be like Doom parkour, but like challenges for each class. From what it looks like, it just looks like an obstacle course.
Scott, are you talking about hero mastery? Or are you talking about firing range?
Hero mastery.
Right. Okay. Well, if it's just Doom parkour,
firing range sounds like an
excited about
range.
that.
It sounded like you can like get a score. It's like a single player
sad.
score thing. You can compete against other people on that hero. So like I got 30k points on Reinhardt.
So
to be fair, that kind of stuff people do like. I referencing like Apex or no, not Apex. Sorry, Titanfall 2. I don't know if anybody has played Titanfall 2, but like the tutorial mission is actually people play that a ton because it's how fucking fast can you get through the tutorial mission? There's a big speedrun community around just that tutorial mission. No, not the GoldenEye 112, but it's kind of like that. So if the way I think about it, for like Lucio, Doomfist, anybody that can do kind of rollouts or like parkoury kind of things, that's to me what hero mastery kind of looks like. And if it is something like that, I think that's actually a big fucking W. I think that's actually really cool. Yeah. Speedrunny kind of things are always quite fun, and people getting like high rankings in a leaderboard, I think would be kind of neat.
Well,
like
anything to help people improve the mechanics outside of just playing. Outside of playing PvP is awesome. Nice.
And them updating that, going down the line, making new courses and shit, I think would be fucking
If anything, it sounds like expanded tutorial because everyone complained about the tutorial being pretty lackluster. This will help you learn.
We lost PvE, but we got a tutorial, guys.
Yeah, I would say not that. I would say just fuck the tutorial. Who gives a shit? Maybe you should give a shit because new players are coming in. But it better not be an expanded tutorial. Like, that's for fucking sure. It better be parkour or something that requires you to have good mechanics to get like
that. To me, would be an expanded tutorial. That is
sure.
We
have different. Well, sure, okay, sure. We have different.
We landed the same place. That's all that matters. I'm also interested in that Flashpoint new mode as well because we're getting a brand new. And this is something interesting. They said. They've never released a brand new mode in the middle of game updates before, so they only like when I say a new mode, I'm talking about capture the flag. I'm talking about like a standard mode that's going to be added to competitive play. This Flashpoint mode could be really interesting. On our side, it means that we actually can have 5 game modes again. I'm going to make a prediction here. I actually have no idea what this game mode is, but just based off the little bits of knowledge that I know, which is the name called Flashpoint. That it's apparently big maps. That's the little tidbits that we've seen before. Is that supposedly these are quite big maps? To me, Flashpoint sounds like a bunch of points over a big map that like flash up and like it's like a control map, but the points are all over, and you sort of I don't know they're random. You don't know where they are going to be, and you have to fight over them or something like that. That's like
guys. Call of Duty have hardpoint. What do we call Overwatch? Flashpoint.
Yeah, done.
Hell yeah.
This is so literally a hardpoint, but Flashpoint. That's what it sounds like to me. I'm fucking mega speculating.
What scares me shitless is we have never played this mode and we have no idea what it is. And I pray to God that it's balanced and actually works for Overwatch. Because as I know, no top tier competitive people have actually tested this mode and know if it's any good.
No.
It is also in season 6, and we are in season 4. So
that's
I would say
how far away is that?
It's
how many months
a
is
little
that?
far away to have pros and even like content creators.
What is that, like August or something?
About 13 weeks away, 3 months.
3 months away.
4 months? No, sorry, 4 months.
Well, so this season ends in 26 days or something. So
I would be concerned if they tried to rush us into OWL. I hope they don't, because there's a high risk of this not being balanced. Because I'm not going to lie.
Just in time for playoffs, guys. Let's go.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, there's a playoff patch. New game mode, fellas. Because dude, push in alpha. Look, push is much better now than it was in alpha. Let's put it that way. There was some untested things there. So, I mean, objectively speaking, this is a big season. Season 6 looks like a big season.
Yeah. Bring up the image again one more time, Solomon, please. And I'll just quickly ref off some things that this says. It's a cinematic reveal, okay, for season 5. People are speculating that it's Sojourn's cinematic, but there's also text stuff. So 5 versus 5 mini comp season. Are we playing as miniatures? What is that? We have no idea what that means.
They better come out and say what the fuck that is, because if this is a mini season and not like a full normal season of competitive play, I'm gonna be fucking pissed. Like that, like what the fuck are you? Like,
we don't know. We don't know, Josh.
If mini comps, if it's like a new game mode, sure, don't give a fuck. I won't play it. But like a mini, the way they word it, mini comp season, is there only a short season in season 5 for competitive play? That would be fucking weird. A lot of this stuff is very ambiguous.
Is it 5 stacking? Some people think it might be 5 stacking.
Yeah, we don't know. That's the takeaway. We don't know yet. On fire. If you love the on fire mechanic, we lost PvE guys, but we got the on fire mechanic back. So let's go.
What's funny about that is that it's still in the game, like, which is the funny thing. It's just not displayed. It's crazy. Every now and then you'll hear people say like, "I'm on fire" or whatever. You know, like
creator workshop mode. That sounds interesting. For a long time, people have wanted them to expand on the workshop mode, being able to make your own maps and stuff. Creator workshop mode, no idea what that means. Maybe it's extra menus, UIs to toggle settings on and stuff. We don't know.
It sounds like I'm pretty sure that's like there's a game mode, you know, like arcade, and it will be just the workshop modes that creators have made. I think that's what that means.
Do you mean like a browser?
No, as in you can queue up and play up with other people in these workshop modes that creators have made.
All right.
I see what you're saying. So instead of queuing into arcade Mr. Heroes, you're queuing into...
You queue into...
we make a one-shot
Drift.
headshot.
I don't know if anybody have seen that shit. The one where you're the car. And you're
that one, so them highlighting different modes in the queue. System. Okay. Season 6... firing range, okay, very cool. Player progression system, so we don't know what the progression system will look like. Is it going to be like Jaws said, hey, kill 1,000 people, get diamonds and yada balls? I don't know. Overwatch anniversary, so yay, we get Lucio Ball in season 5 and then anniversary, like who knows, and more. Season 7 and beyond, new tank hero, new collaboration event, limited time mode, new control map, new winter event, new hero mastery missions, Roadhog rework, fan favorite modes, return cinematic debuts, competitive mystery heroes, does it say that? Lore codex, so if you really like lore, you got a codex in the game, or maybe not in the game, maybe it's the website, I don't know. Sombra rework, so Roadhog and Sombra reworks coming, I don't know, later this year for winter or something, in like 8 months, I don't know.
They literally put Sombra last. That sounds like December 31st, like they're saving it for last.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? It'll be like the Roadhog balance changes, so... That is coming up. I'd love to speak more about PvE, but I have to be out in 45 minutes, and we quickly need to talk about the Overwatch League stuff that went down. We are going to talk more about PvE and talk more about the game in general moving forward. So come back next week, and we'll have more to talk about when it relates to the game and our thoughts on the game and how to really like establish good vibes in the game. Wow, that felt wrong to say that. Overwatch League stuff though.
Speak. Wow.
Yeah. Look, I seriously, when I made that tweet yesterday where it was like professional copium artist or something, and I just talked about stuff that might still happen in the gameplay trailer, I like seriously had to go sit down after the stream and was like, it's my natural personality that I just cope too hard about everything? Am I too optimistic about things? Because everyone's dooming, and I'm like, is there something mentally wrong with me where I'm just optimistic all the time? And
probably a few factors, but
yeah, I don't know.
Best thing in the world.
Maybe some trauma or something I need to deal with because I'm just optimistic and ignorant all the time. Anyway, I don't know. We're not talking about that today on the podcast. Overwatch League stuff.
One second, before you move on, someone just had a really good comment, which was, imagine if Plat Chat was still on Tuesdays. Imagine if we heard this nuclear bomb during the broadcast.
Wednesdays, everybody.
Hey, that would have been
This is why we changed.
Awful.
This is why we changed.
It paid off, guys. 1 week into the thing, it paid off.
It really did.
It nearly screwed us. Like Johnny already had a full run sheet down, and then all the news drop were like, yeah, I think we're gonna have to change all of that now. Like 1 day before even, so it still nearly fucked us.
Yeah, if you stumbled upon the live stream yesterday, it said, premiering in 24 hours, Junker Queen is ruining ranked. We don't really care about Junker Queen ranked anymore.
Dude, Junker Queen's my hero at this point. I don't even care.
Let's talk about Junker Queen for 30 minutes.
Did you really want to quickly touch on, because it just dropped, I saw Solomon put it up, but BlizzCon is coming to Anaheim November 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, I wonder what they'll announce.
So, BlizzCon.
That was the date that I had of PVE launching. That's when I was like, that's the day, you know? So
there you go, BlizzCon, everybody.
What do the details say? Does it? I don't know.
I don't know.
You know what they're announcing? The new survival game they've been teasing for fucking 3 years.
I wonder if it's gonna get released.
But is that all
Like
it is?
ever,
It
or
doesn't
just
have anything interesting
by
in there
then?
then. It's
Yeah.
just, it's coming back.
Um,
Well, a couple will be there.
I would assume
Probably.
Wright will be there.
Yeah, probably.
yeah,
Like,
I mean, I
we
can't
assume-
imagine them doing it everywhere else. Like, yes, I think
Yeah.
it's safe to assume that World Cup playoffs will be at BlizzCon because anything else would just be like, what?
Right, I can't wait for next week. They announce that they're not doing a BlizzCon, and then we have another Doomer podcast about World Cup.
And probably like a new WoW expansion, Custa. I'm not clued into WoW these days. Probably new WoW expansion.
Probably Overwatch Mobile, maybe.
No,
No?
they just had a WoW expansion. It's every second year they do a WoW expansion.
Yeah, but okay. Yeah, I really enjoy that being younger, whereas like
I guess you might be right. They would announce. I
Be
don't
a
know, you might
teaser.
right.
every other BlizzCon
Yeah.
WoW panel would be sick, and then you'd have that year where they're like, we're talking about tailoring and like what goes into making tailoring in the game, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck, dude. Sorry. Like, why am I watching this panel? Yeah, Diablo's getting released in June, of course, so I don't think they're released like Diablo 5, but maybe some expansion there. There's some announcements to come anyway.
Expansion 6 months in. Let's go.
No, but they'll announce it. They'll announce it. So it's going to be a very interesting BlizzCon. Probably the most interesting BlizzCon for a very pivotal moment in time for Blizzard. And I don't know, Europe apparently agreed with the Microsoft,
Microsoft
thing
going
this
through
past week as
At least
well.
Europe, yeah.
Europe approved it or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not your Borpa business guy, so I don't know what's going on with that thing, but a lot might happen the rest of this year, guys. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, BlizzCon is happening. We don't know anything about it, but BlizzCon is happening. So probably I'll see you there. Hopefully, maybe. Overwatch Week 2. So probably a lot to talk about when it comes to Overwatch League this week as well. But as I said, we only have 40 minutes here. So we might skip a few things. And I apologize in advance if we're not talking about your favorite team, if we're not hitting on all the storylines to the extent that you wanted to. It's just a matter of time.
All right, move on.
Yeah. First thing that we just quickly have to touch on. Vegas Eternal feels Avalla.
Fuck me, bro.
As their support.
Genuine question. Genuine question.
Care.
Is she in the running? And I'm not saying she'll get this, but is she viable for Rookie of the Year?
She's a
rookie
candidate.
season.
She's a candidate, of
Yeah,
course.
she's a legitimate candidate for Rookie of the Year.
Legitimate candidate.
Yep.
I mean, when
That's all I'm saying.
when I get my like ballot for like voting awards later in the year, I fully expect
I
Avalla
might
to be
do
on
it.
there.
I will be tempted to tick her name. I probably won't, but I'll be tempted. Well, the chaos,
There
I'll
are
be
sometimes some
tempted.
trolls in the APAC community in the past who have just voted for like LA Valiant players and stuff.
sorry, Luke-
Maybe we band together and just vote Avalla.
Luke, the GM of Chengdu doesn't exist anymore, so we don't have to worry about him.
All right. Yeah. So look, there's nothing to say here, but we just had to bring it up because it was a huge moment for the league.
Oh yeah, Avalla's played more maps than Avast, but Connor's not here to defend himself.
Yeah. So.
She played pretty well. She was fine.
It was really funny because, back when we used to have Winston's Lab in 2016, I was so mad as a player at the player ratings that they had on the website because we would dive a lot as a team, and so my team would just tell me to like dive in head first and make space for them, which meant to me dying a lot, which means that my player rating would plummet, and it'd be like Winston is one of the worst rated Winstons or Reinhardts, whatever, because he's just diving in and dies. But I'm like, yeah, but we're winning, guys, because I'm dying, so I know my player rating is garbage. But it was really funny looking at the player rating this past week because Winston's Lab is up again, obviously, and Avalla was like the third best performing player on the team. Dove had a worse rating than Avalla, and someone else had a worse rating than Avalla. So it was like, if you just complete trust in this page, wait, they changed the rating. They changed the screenshot on my Twitter is different. The screenshot on my Twitter is different. I promise. That is crazy. They changed the rating. What happened here? This is unbelievable.
Roy has betrayed us.
Yeah, that's not unbelievable, Bro changed it. Wow, my narrative that Avalla actually played kind of well. But yeah, that was a funny moment. Anything more to say about Avalla playing on Vegas?
As tragic as it was originally
one...
sounding, it didn't end up being as tragic as I thought it was going to be. I can't believe I just said that, but that wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. That was actually...
They were lucky Luke Mino knows how to play a good Hanzo. Like, they did get fucking rolled on the right. Like, they got rolled on 2 of the maps. Like, I feel like people just, like, black out the other 2 monstrous rolls and just think about King's Row. But, like, they almost won King's Row.
Can you imagine if they got their first map win?
That was a great map.
Yeah, the King's Row was close.
I will add one thing. Jake molding out of his fucking mind the replay highlight package of Avalla getting that kill on the tracer that was blinking towards their own spawn. And she just like climbs up the wall and just throws a random kunai. And then it hits the tracer in the back of the fucking head. And Jake was like, that's just fucking luck. That's not even a good kill. I'm like, bro, that's pretty sick, bro. I mean, that's it. That kill was pretty sick, dude. Like, you killed the fucking tracer like that.
BP made a whole highlights package for Avalla. It was good.
Yeah. Jake was like, that wasn't a good kill. I'm like, bro, it was kind of good.
Man's hating, dude. He's hating.
What a hater.
He just molds, bro. Dude, he molds at fucking bots in Overwatch. Like, actual fucking bots. I'm like, dude, what do you mean? Like, they're just fucking bots. They're just testing the fucking cameras and shit. What the fuck? It's funny as fuck, bro.
The rehearsal bots. He's modding the rehearsal bots.
Yeah. That was quite funny. That was the funniest part of the weekend for me.
All right. I want to touch on the San Francisco Shock next. The San Francisco Shock had a tumultuous weekend. It's been a ride, guys. I know most of us had our individual rankings when it comes to the preseason rankings. But as a podcast that named San Francisco Shock #1 above the Atlanta Reign, it's been a tough few weeks. End of season rankings, remember? I am losing faith, Avril. I am losing faith. I can't believe... I'm not going to lie.
That shatter.
That was brutal as well.
They lost because of that shit.
I bought into this team.
Go on, Johnny.
I bought into this team. That's all. I bought into this team. And I have to live it down.
Can I say something about that C9? I'm not... Dude, I think there's a lot of strong, like, opposite side cope. There's cope for Shock, but then there's like anti-cope. And the anti-cope is that New York would have 3-0'd without the C9. If you actually replay the moment, New York would not have won, even if it wasn't a C9. Because first of all, the payload is like a 6-member for the Shock. Finn still has an extra window here that he hasn't used yet. Kellen whiffing the Shatter was a way bigger mistake here. If Kellen doesn't whiff the Shatter, they actually have a good chance of maybe killing Max. But Max dives their backline. He's saying walls off their support so they couldn't touch. Then Max wouldn't have died anyway because he got lamped by Finn. You can actually see
it's so easy to shatter versus round comps too. He has one shield.
He just should have landed the shatter. That's it. Like, that was more egregious than the C9. I don't think the C9 was the problem. So the anti-cope saying like, oh, should have been a 3-0. I'm like, bro, if you fuck up, you fuck up and lose. That's all that is.
I mean, I'd say the C9 is the problem because that's how they lost the game. But
yeah, but I'm not.
The issue with that is that they lost the game. They lost the game because they.
Anything else, Jack? Anything else?
I mean, yeah, they might have won this. They actually might. They straight up won. As soon as they lost that map, it's like that's series over.
It's literally impossible to know. And it doesn't matter because he fucking missed the shadow, and that's what makes Overwatch. He fucked up, so they lost.
Actual Overwatch moment.
And then
I hoped New York would win that because it would have been funny to continue the narrative that Shock are on this downturn, which would have been equally cool if they came back in the later of the season, right, and then been fucking sick.
What I'm saying is, I don't think Shock.
Look at this kill. This is some bullshit.
What is wild shit? Yeah.
Okay. To be fair, that was because New York didn't TP out of spawn, and they were so slow that they all got spammed on bridge.
If you don't TP out of spawn,
you just got and then you just get spammed on bridge. Like, it's so easy for Vindame to spam bridge when they're slow to fight. That's all that was. I don't know why the fuck they didn't TP. What I'm saying is that, like, Shock might be bad, which is true. The people saying that NYXL should have 3-0'd, that's also cope, in my opinion.
Okay, so reverse sweep aside, let's also touch on the fact that Shock got 3-0'd by the Justice this week.
Yeah.
I know this was a very, like, back and forth match and Shock reverse sweeped and like, way, Shock reverse sweeped, yay. They got dominated by the Washington Justice. And they looked bad. Like, I'm talking about bad, with proper playing the Sombra to close it out and not being able to execute with the Sombra EMP and everything. Like, sure, they reverse sweeped and got a win versus the New York Excelsior, but this match against the Washington Justice was not a good sign for the future success of the San Francisco Shock. Sure, they might improve from here, but just like, when we get to power rankings later, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty.
I'm going to mention about the Washington Justice. There's a little bit of unfairness there because we've been underrating them. Other people are underrating them. I think the Washington Justice is pretty underrated. So like they're doing much better than people expected them to. That's why it feels more shocking that Shock got 3-0. But I think
which teams are you really happy that they beat?
Who beat? What do you mean?
The Washington Justice. Other than the San Francisco Shock, who do you like that they beat?
The Vegas Eternal.
And the Los Angeles Valiant and
Correct.
the London Spitfire, if I remember.
Yeah, their schedule is pretty fucking easy, but
Easy
results
mode.
aside, I'm talking about like on an individual level. And I put this out on Twitter. This is one of my tweets this week. My allocated tweets this week was why are people so surprised that Alpha E is good? Like this dude was already pounding last
Bring
year.
up Johnny's.
And
Bring up Johnny's
and
response
then bring
to
up
that
my
tweet.
response to that. If we're gonna play this game, we're gonna bring up all the responses.
We'll bring up
I had a
Apple's
response to the response.
Me and Custa are going to sit here and we
We don't
won't
have
give a
time for
fuck,
this shit.
and you guys can argue.
You're right. We
and
don't
it'll
have a
be fine.
response. By the way, I don't even think I disagree that much with Johnny because his stats are better this year. But also, I think like Flora's not as dominant of a player as Shy was at this exact period last year, which is why stats can be skewed. That's
I think
all I'm
we
saying,
talk
right?
about this when we see them play against more good teams.
Yeah,
Because
I just think, like,
they also got beaten 3-0 by the Boston Uprising and they looked really bad while doing it, right? Like, I feel like it's too early to tell and like get a real gauge on this Washington Justice squad because they've beaten down like so much.
I mean, it's possible to hold two opinions. One, that Shock is much worse than we thought, and Washington's maybe a bit better than we thought. I think both can be true.
Yeah. But I think it's hard to like really know because we're so early in the season and like we haven't seen the schedule of these teams are playing against a diverse level of competition.
A lot of teams at this point have not played in their like ballpark teams and where we expect them to be. Mid-table teams are not playing right now. Other mid-table teams, or what it feels like anyway. A lot of like top teams. Well, Atlanta Reign's kind of beating everybody. Outlaws as well. They're clearly the two best teams right now, so they're just kind of dunking on everybody apart from each other. But like every other team, it feels like they're playing. The middle teams are playing the low teams. The low teams are playing the middle teams. So it's like kind of hard to tell.
And we can all agree,
Valiant,
Alfie
although I'm kind of happy for Valiant, but Alfie on the Washington Justice is the best player on this.
He is giga fucking, all right? Like no one can disagree. He's going absolutely sick.
Mechanics,
World
like,
class.
Yeah, absolutely. Like top 5, top 3 potentially right now this season.
Mechanics are unreal, dude. Like,
Unbelievable.
actually,
Can you imagine they replaced this guy with Pineapple last year? They like legitimately
the goon was cooking
for almost an entire stage. The Hangzhou Spark played Shy Sombra and Pineapple Tracer and put Alfie on the bench,
which is wild.
which is crazy. Yeah,
that
Washington
was
Justice for the rest of the they have a hiatus this coming week, so we're not going to see the Justice. Then they're playing the New York Excelsior, and then they're playing Gladiators, and that's it. Like, what?
Yeah. They're gonna have an interesting back half of this season. Like, good luck.
Well, so their schedule, Washington's schedule was Vegas, Valiant, Shock, London, and New York Excelsior and Gladiators.
So they played the bottom 4 teams in the West. And they, obviously Shock and Gladiators are, well, Shock were supposed to be good and Gladiators are good. So, honestly, here's the thing, and that's why it's hard to tell because they're legitimately playing well. Like, you can't take that away from them. And they're beating the teams they need to beat. So, but I think it's hard to be like, can the Washington, like, do you guys think the Washington Justice can compete with the Los Angeles Gladiators?
Maybe.
I don't think I would say the Glads win, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's like a blowout. No.
I don't think Gladiators are like Houston or Atlanta. Like, I think Gladiators are one tier below. So,
yeah, and I think that's where the contentious part comes of like and that's the game I'm looking out for the most for the Washington Justice of like where do they really stand comparing to the rest of these out teams, because like at that point we have a much better gauge of where everything's at. Also, the meta will be a lot more solved. So
yeah. We got to move on, guys. Sorry. There's a lot to unpack when it comes to the Shock and Proper and he's saying rotating roles, Junbin and Max, like what's going on there. Their entire situation overall. There seems to be a lot of like rumors circulating, like what's going on with the Shock. There's a lot to unpack there. I just don't think we have the time because we got about 30 minutes left to really unpack that. But maybe we do that a future episode. They're playing Houston this week, and then they're playing the Valiant. So, I mean, that's two opposites out of the spectrum. We'll know more about the Shock after this week, and we'll touch on it next week, I promise. I'm sorry, guys. I do want to jump over to the APAC region real quick for a bit of a redemption arc moment here, AVRL, for Mag on the Seoul Infernal. Seoul Infernal had a fantastic past week, beating the Hangzhou Spark 3-0 and beating the Guangzhou Charge 3-2, which propels them to second place in the APAC region with a 4-1 record, only losing to the Dynasty. They only lost to the Dynasty.
They should have won that game as well.
A little bit of the Philly choke was within them for that game, not gonna lie. I'm really happy for Mag, because I think this really starts to prove, at least Mag's on the journey now, redemption, this really starts to prove that like your playing environment does matter. Because Mag was the most hyped up rookie coming into 2021 season, even more than Pelican, who actually won Rookie of the Year. Mag was more hyped up than Pelican, right? That wasn't just coming from me. It was like pretty sure everyone. Like Zoe said that Mag was going to be Rookie of the Year on broadcast, right? So for Mag to come into 2021, have a really bad year, 2022 still a bad year, then to come back on Infernal and start to look good again, start to look somewhere in the ballpark as good as he was on Runaway before he came to the Overwatch League, to me says a lot more about what it was like playing on the Washington Justice for 2 years than like him individually as a player. That's my takeaway from the Mag situation. Because I always felt like this player had a lot more to give, because I'd seen it on Runaway. And I'm just surprised that he fell apart so huge in Washington. I'm like, I don't know if it's him. Like, it might just be the team. And I feel like now that we start to see Mag improve, I think it really was the team. Like, the play environment does matter. Now that Mag is out of that situation, he's a much better player.
He was overhyped in general coming in, I think. I was a Mag fan too.
He was, I think he was the best rookie coming into the year for 2021, generally speaking.
I think common consensus was that he was the Rookie of the Year pick, like the front runner going into the season, right?
Preseason, yes. Preseason, that's what people said. And yes, I was also part of that, but I wasn't the only one.
Me too, yeah. I'm pretty sure I said Mag too. Because I think Mag was like the easy pick. I can't remember who else were candidates.
I can't remember the rookies in 2021.
But it's also like a fantastic time to be Mag. I feel like in this meta, there's a lot of Brigana being played, and some Brig Sen being played here on Blizzard World because the APAC teams prefer this meta. This kind of is exactly in like Mag's wheelhouse as well. When I think about Mag and his playstyle, it is a lot about surviving, positioning, jockeying for positioning on some of these maps, not playing like fast-paced dives kind of stuff. One of my biggest complaints with Mag's Wrecking Ball when he was on the Justice was just like he was being too slow. He was taking his time. He was playing for survival way too much. But in these compositions, when you're playing Wrecking Ball with Brig Sen, you gotta play for survival. So it's right up his wheelhouse. Now, it's unfair to me to just, compare Mag of 2023 on a different team to Mag of 2 years ago, whatever it was. Obviously, he's developed his skill set, he's improved as a player and all that stuff. But I think this is like the perfect opportunity and the perfect meta for Mag to really start his redemption journey. So I think we're all happy for him, There
was a stat, by the way. I think versus Hangzhou, where they got a 3-0, Mag died a total of 3 times once per map. That's fucking, for a tank, that's wild. He died only a total of 3 times the whole series.
Yeah.
So he's been playing well, like extremely well. I think Infernal as well, they're starting to live up to the preseason hype. Because you remember when the Scrimbuck said that Infernal were the ones that were the top of APAC scrims, and then they just lose versus Seoul Dynasty. It's like, okay, what's going on here? But now they're starting to win again and proving themselves to be like the top team, even though like I think the game versus Guangzhou was super close. I could probably go either way. But yeah, Infernal is starting to live up to the preseason hype a little bit, which I'm happy about.
Yeah. Here we go. 4-1 record. They could have been number 1 had they beaten Seoul Dynasty. We'll talk more about the bracket.
They actually have a better bracket, so it's maybe better than the second, actually.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. All right. We gotta quickly do our power rankings for the split regions here. A big shakeup on the horizon here with a lot of results. San Francisco Shock. I mean, Lord knows what we're doing with them now because they lost to the Washington Justice. So yeah, we're starting here with the West region.
Put the shock down, bro.
Well, we don't change the top 4, right? I think the top 4 remain unless we think Glads doesn't belong there. I think.
I mean, Florida went to map 5 against Valiant. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I'm actually a lot more comfortable to put Glads above Florida. We kept Florida above Glads, even though Glads won that series. But I actually think that we're starting to see some more cracks in Florida. And even though we didn't see Glads play, I feel like at this point, with Florida just sort of, playing well but struggling thing, I think I'm happy to put Glads above Florida at this point.
Mute in Discord.
Oh shoot, did I unmute it? Sorry.
Yeah, it's all good.
Oh, that's it. Oh,
that was my fault. Yeah,
I couldn't hear him twice.
I think I actually.
Yeah.
Valiant definitely go up quite a few places.
Do they?
Yeah. Above London, I think.
London beat Vegas 3-0, and they lost to Mayhem 3-1. So I guess technically, if you're a map scorer, Michael, you're just like, yeah, well, Valiant got 2 maps versus Florida, and London got 1.
I think Valiant is just playing well. I think right now they're better than London. I'd take Valiant over London in a head-to-head, for sure.
You also definitely put Washington ahead in New York. I think I would even put Washington ahead in Toronto at the moment, personally.
I agree.
Yeah.
Until Toronto showed to us that they can play more. Wait, what? Why?
Yeah.
Oh,
you have a keybind to unmute? Maybe.
Okay, you're muted now. No, you're unmuted now.
I'm stupid. I realized what I was doing. I had a pop out, but I thought I was muting my vmix, but I was muting my Discord because I had the Discord pop out. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, I agree. I think Washington should be above Toronto until Toronto shows us something good.
And then,
yeah. There goes someone. Yeah,
New York and Toronto down,
and then you move all those 3 times down a spot.
Yeah.
Where does Shock fit into this?
Down.
Shock have to go up below Washington. Right? Yeah.
So Shock go 8
below Toronto.
Oh my god.
Well, they still beat Toronto, so
yeah,
Shock
they beat Toronto.
8.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Boston. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
This is fair.
All right.
Are we happy about this?
I would like the Florida and Glad swap. I think that's genuine. I don't know if I can sell you all on that.
I'm down with that. They beat them in week 2.
Yeah, and the reason we didn't flip them is because I still believed in Florida more, but after this weekend, Florida did struggle a little bit, so I feel like now's the time to rip the Band-Aid.
Yeah. And we also had a gigabanger between Atlanta and Houston. We're not gonna have time to get to that, but that was a gigabanger. That was the best smash of the season so far.
At what point does Vegas get to be 13th again? They want a map. Is that good enough?
No. Moving on to the APAC rankings. Big shake up here.
Okay.
Seoul Infernal 1. Shoot him up your rankings.
I think Shanghai 6, Seoul Infernal 1.
I'd start number 1 here, Solomon. Let's do it for
Seoul Infernal 1.
They're changing the topic bars. We're really going hard on Solomon here.
Yeah, for you, Johnny. Yeah, I think the tier break goes away. I agree.
Shanghai last.
I think. How do we feel about Dallas above Seoul?
Dallas beat Seoul.
Yeah, so that's sort of why I'm like saying like
switch him.
Yeah, okay. Dallas swap with Seoul. Yep. And I'm pretty happy with that.
That looks good.
Yeah,
that looks good to me.
Do we put a tier break below Hongzhou? Stop that. Put him down. I kind of think it is there, right? Until Dallas proves that, and like,
yeah, I guess it is. I think Hangzhou saw that 3-1, and they probably had Hangzhou also had a 3-1, and the one they lost had egregious C9. So I'd probably say yeah.
Like, I don't know. I think Dallas looked better, and it feels like they look more confident in themselves. But it's not enough for me to put them in the same tier as the other 3 just yet.
I like that.
All right.
Oh yeah, I'm happy with that.
Solomon, I'm going to ask you to, I know it's not in the rundown right now. I'm going to ask you to pull up the APAC bracket now, if you have access to that, because we can quickly talk about the APAC bracket now that when seeding's been done, there you go. We've been distributing it to Group A and Group B. This is Group A. Yo, Solomon is on it. I love Solomon. The goat.
Johnny's just sitting here vibing.
I am vibing. I am not doing anything. Hands free, baby. It's the best. So we got 2 groups. Here's a bracket for Group A. Obviously, the teams have been seeded with the contenders teams that qualified. And so taking a look at Group A, we got Guangzhou Charge in Game 3. They'll be facing the winner of Dreamers versus Poker Face. And Hangzhou Spark on the other side, they'll face the winner of Seoul Dynasty and Rhodes. And so with this Group A, only one of these teams will qualify for the mid-season madness, and there is no crossover between the groups as far as I know. And so
That's correct, yeah.
only one of those teams. Who do we got taking it, guys?
Charge, right? I mean, they're the clear favorites. Charge, surely.
Do you believe in the Hangzhou Spark comeback, that they can reinvent themselves?
I do, but like until, dude, I do, but at the same time, at the moment, Charge just looks so much cleaner. I don't. Also, like I think you need a meta where Shy isn't permanently on Sombra. Like I don't think he's an awful Sombra, but the guy holds EMPs for way too long. This group was also tragic because you have 3 Chinese teams. So the way the seedings ended up working out, both the Zhou teams ended up here, and Rhodes, which is full of ex-Chengdu players and like good Chinese players. So 3 Chinese teams on the same side of the bracket. Mega unlucky here. Pokerface from the contender side is a bit of a dark horse. That's the team with like Muse and Finale and stuff. So maybe they'll do something. Dreamers obviously has Dreamer on it. I think Dynasty, if they're not careful, they could end up losing to like a Pokerface here if they're not careful. So they got to be on their A game. But otherwise, Charge and Spark should be ahead of the teams in this bracket, with Charge probably edging it out.
Yeah, I mean, even in the Rhodes Dynasty matchup, I wouldn't sleep on Rhodes. It's gonna get scary here for some of the old teams because like the talent is pretty crazy on these teams.
Yeah.
Who, if you had to pick one of these contenders teams to make it out, AVRL, to beat Guangzhou and Hangzhou and all, which contenders
the
team
best
are
one's
these?
Pokerface. The best one's
Yeah.
Pokerface is the Muse Finale team by far. And they haven't played O2 Blast yet, and based on these brackets, they never will until they both make it through the knockouts. Owl and maybe they face each other. So we actually don't know. What I'm basically trying to say is we don't know if Pokerface is clearly the second best team or whether they're competitive with O2 because they haven't played. So there's a chance that they could actually be competitive with O2 as well, which makes them an even better team. But yeah, Pokerface is the easy favorite from contenders here. But I don't think they beat Charge. So
Yeah. We gotta keep pushing the show here. Let's take a look at Group B on the side of brackets. But this is the one where
group
O2
life.
Blast is in, playing Pantera in the first game. Seoul Infernal, top seeded in Game 3, Dallas Fuel on the other end, and Shanghai Dragons will play SPG in the very first.
Bro, we go back like 2 years, this would be like the craziest fucking bracket of all time. With just like the quality of these rosters have been at in the past, and now we're just like, man, this is fucking just sad to look at.
Yeah. But it did. Like, even 1 year ago, you look at this, like, bro, Dragons and Fuel in the same bracket. That's a group of death right there.
Right?
But now you're like, oh, this is the easy group. You got Dragons and Fuel. That's easy. That's so free. Like, enjoy your free win, Infernal.
Don't
like,
worry,
Infernal, look at this
Fuel
group. It's like, oh, so there's no challenge. Nice.
Yeah, Infernal will clear through this.
So how would you rank, put O2 Blast on par here? Does O2 Blast have a legitimate chance to make a run through this bracket here?
Oh, dude, there's a world where, first of all, I think I would actually favor O2 Blast versus Dragons. That might be toxic. Second
I
of
don't think
all,
it is.
I don't think that's
second of
toxic.
all, and it depends on which dragons show up, because there's a dragons that like look reasonable versus Soul, and then there's the dragons which just like get 3-0'd. What was they? Who did they last play? They got 3-0'd by Dallas, and they did sneak a map away from Guangzhou, which is okay. Dallas, I still got some hopium for Dallas there. I think Dallas, that could be a close one. O2 versus Dallas could be a damn good game, and that might be a really good match. But I won't automatically say that O2 Blast will win there. I think that will be a very competitive game that Fuel might still edge out, because I got hopium for Fuel, especially after they beat both Shanghai and
Boy,
Dallas.
I got hopium for Fuel as well. It's sad. It's honestly sad. I got so much hopium for so many teams.
No, bro.
And there
don't
is-
worry.
I don't think I
Still
have a
put it back.
single
bad team
take
either.
that I can like celebrate for my rankings. All my teams shat the bed that I thought be good. Custa has Jimmy, and I'm envious that Custa has this Jimmy thing he can cling on
I
to.
always got my boy Jimmy. You know,
Did you watch
if
the Jimmy
anyone
interview,
got
by the
me,
way?
Mad
my boy
respect.
Jimmy.
Did you watch
What?
the interview? Did you watch the Jimmy interview?
I
that we
did watch the Jimmy interview.
Okay.
You know, it was
We asked him
disappointing to
about
hear
you.
he wasn't going to make it, but I've heard of gifts on the way. So Jimmy, you know, as once again, never letting me down.
You know what? I hope he buys you Manscaped.
Oh
you get
shit,
twice.
that would be
That would
Johnny
be
awesome.
the
and
dream.
Jimmy give you Manscaped. Just get two of them.
Jimmy's like, I
We
want
should
Plat
send
Chat.
Jimmy Manscaped.
Yeah, we're gonna
Yes,
find it in the Plat
actually.
Chat budget.
Oh my.
But yeah, that group is just Infernal. Play through it, I think.
Custa and Jaws, you need to send predictions to Solomon on Discord because you haven't.
Oh
Oh,
shit!
fuck.
There we go.
Ah,
Yeah.
fuck. Oh
Bad,
god.
sorry,
But yeah,
Sorry.
it's I have low key an identity crisis in the green room every time I work on the broadcast, because Jake obviously has this Houston Outlaws, association that he always clings onto, and he's like, oh, my Houston guys, oh, they're so good, oh, they're popping off, oh, this team is great. And then I look at Twitter and it's like, Custa's like, oh, Jimmy, yeah, going to a charge, you're popping off, woo. And everyone's like, Seoul Infernal, baby, such a good team. And I'm just sitting there just like, Hangzhou Spark, Dallas Fuel, I have nothing to celebrate, I have nothing to be happy about, all my teams are underperforming. So
Pines say that you can have them. Pines are trying to call
shock is just an abomination.
You gotta attach your career to Kevsters, because you're both Swedish.
Yeah,
it's an easy
I think
in.
that's the move.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
just say that you're like Kevsters' dad or something like that, and just start like manifesting it, and it'll
Glad's
become a
also
thing.
I have
disappointed.
to profit, and that went to shit too.
Yeah.
All my
Don't
takes
worry,
just down the drain.
I got my boys at Element Mystic, baby. Let's fucking go, Dallas. Come on.
Well, Johnny,
win
you
this.
also have Void every time Void pops off as well. It kind of works in the anti-way of that. But
So you know how you opened the vote of Jimmy, and we're like, Jimmy, what are you doing flanking on Dorado 2 times? Yeah. He won you over by improving, okay?
Yeah.
I started on the flip side of that.
You started
Void
on
was
top.
popping off, and I was like, is he any good? It's not a 1-to-1 comparison, Costa.
That's true. You fucked up. I can't
I
help you
did
there.
mess up. Yeah. It's Vancouver Titans is in the chat. It's Vancouver Titans for me, or it's just straight
Lenny,
up Kevster.
take Lenny. Lenny's a great
Lenny.
shout.
Yeah. Kevster and Lenny. That's how it goes. Yeah, I'm probably just gonna be Kevster from now on. Kevster for MVP, guys!
Yeah,
Woo!
Papa the Fraud.
What if you just do the most boring thing possible and just take the Atlanta Reign? Is that too boring?
No.
So he's already got Atlanta Reign, sorry.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Atlanta. Yeah, I'm good. I'll go with Kevster. I love Kevster. Are we good for Preds here, Solomon? Are we good? Preds already?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Solomon. Let's go into quick Preds here. Starting off, Vancouver Titans versus London Spitfire. Who do we got? Any London Spitfire predictors?
Hell no.
Hell no.
Wait,
This
wait.
is...
Plat Chat guarantee.
Oh,
That
God.
worked out well for us last time, by the way.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
more cursed? Real opinions here. What's more cursed, BP or Plat Chat guarantee?
Oh, BP. BP's had
BP
consistency for
easily.
days. And we're usually, like, the thing is, we're usually right. It's just like those one-offs that you're wrong, like, and all four are wrong. Like, wait, which one did we get wrong recently? Was it
We got 3 of them wrong last week.
Four. You got 4.
4 of them.
I mean,
Yeah, one-off.
BP
It's just a one-off, Admiral. It's fine.
Yeah, it is just what we just had one bad week. BP literally goes to other esports and ruins another esport. We
Yeah,
cannot
true.
do that.
BP
Impossible.
ruined PVE because right before the PVE announcement, BP was like, "Let's go PVE," and then straight away PVE
God.
died. I think
Yeah.
BP ruined
Bro.
it. How did he
I
predict
think the
that?
word was like PVE is coming or something. And
Yeah.
then...
And then straight afterwards, it fucked it.
This guy is so dumb.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
It's crazy indeed. I did say that because Bad Pachamaris was on my Twitch chat yesterday. I did say that, and I legitimately I felt through the text message that Bad Pachamari was like sad that they didn't want to curse PvE. That they were like, no.
Well, then
this
stop
is
saying things,
crossed the line.
BP. If you want the health
Just
of
stop
everyone
speaking.
in this community, just leave.
Don't speak.
You know,
No,
No, don't leave. Just don't speak.
I
For
like
all of us,
I like
become
we
a
can
martyr.
reform the
Pull on the
Preds.
sword.
What the fuck?
We can fix
Okay,
the
that's too
Preds. We can
far.
fix the Preds. Bad Pachamari is a treasure, and we're lucky to have them.
Yeah, true. Actually, true.
Sorry, I'm coughing. I'm
PvE's the
still
guy.
coming up cold. Moving on to the next one. San Francisco Shock versus Houston Outlaws. This looked way better on paper 2 weeks ago. Now, not so
And
much.
This is the easiest game of
Yikes.
all time to pred.
It's tough out there. I mean,
Blackjack
they're not even in the same
guarantee.
ballpark.
This one's a freebie on the pick.
this one's the double points, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah,
If you haven't
100%.
won double points yet,
Yo, if San Francisco Shock show up to this match and like make it close or win,
Please.
I'm officially fucking stumped. Like this team
Please.
is an enigma of quality. Like I don't know.
Jack,
Please.
how hard would Jake mold if Houston lose to Shock?
I think he'd quit Overwatch if he, if genuinely, if Outlaws lose this, he fucking leaves Overwatch for good, like for real. Ain't gonna happen though. There's no shot, right?
There ain't no
Right?
way.
Surely,
Ain't
right?
no way.
Surely, yeah,
All right.
surely.
Next matchup, we got the Toronto Defiant versus Boston Uprising. Way closer matchup. Actually could go separate ways here. We got Custa with Toronto and rest with Boston.
Oh,
Hey, they got rid of Jitset. They got rid of Jitset. Woo!
no more Jitset. Bird
is nice.
ring,
Honestly,
please, bro.
Bro, no, head empty, Boston hater, on the train, fucking choo-choo, baby. This is the beginning of
This
this.
guy
Even though
sucks,
Toronto
dude. What
Defiant
is
is
this
in
guy
their
doing?
own, like, middle of their own team implosion, I don't know. This pred makes no sense. I panicked. Solomon was asking for my pred. I saw it, and I was like, no, I'm not going to pred Boston. I saw Toronto on the other side, and I'm like, ooh, that's hard. But, you
They
know,
have
sometimes you got to
Bird Ring and
commit.
Twilight. They can't lose. I
It's
said that
on it,
every
but
week
okay.
since they've started to lose.
Yeah, I will say Toronto needs to get their shit together. Like they should be way better than they are. There is something like seriously wrong. And please, for the love of God, do not play Hydron on Sombra. Just put the man on Hanzo or hit scan, and I feel like they'll just win
something.
matches.
Scott, I figured out. I think I figured out. Now that Jitset's gone, the rumored like prophesized implosion of the Boston Uprising will finally happen. Because Jitset was clearly the rock holding them all together.
Yeah,
And
Jitset. I've heard
now that he's gone, I think all the
the
mentors are
crumbling
booming.
begins. It
The
takes one piece to
crumbling is
fall.
coming.
Yeah.
You're onto something. You're onto something.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Johnny just
I literally like don't care about this. Like, okay, apparently Jitset was bad and took player salaries. Good riddance.
Peace.
A long time ago.
Whatever.
Not now, or at least that we know of. Let's just be clear. But yes, that did happen.
Allegedly, via former players of his, that was the accusations made. I don't know anything more. I've never met the guy, never spoken to him. He's off the team. Anyway, I predicted Boston Uprising. Yay, bird ring. And our final match of the week, Vancouver Titans against the LA Gladiators. I think this could... I know Gladiators is number 3 in the ranking, but Vancouver Titans could punch upwards.
Yeah?
Maybe. I don't know.
No.
Okay. All right.
I believe in Vancouver as next as much as the next person. Sorry, but Gladiators look good and they've been improving. It would be the most Gladiators thing ever to show up this week and suck though.
Oh yeah,
So-
it would.
Oh, dude,
Gladiators.
this one is the Plat Chat guarantee that has the highest chance of imploding.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This one. Okay, everyone, thumbs up.
Yay! Oh god. It's... I got a bad feeling about this.
I do
one.
have
I
a
do
really
too.
bad feeling about this match.
Let's go, Kevster.
Vancouver stonks would go up, but that'd be nice. But yeah.
You know, this would be classic. This is the week that Johnny announces he's back in Kev's to full force, and then they lose to Vancouver.
Am I cursed? Like, all my teams suck? Please no. No, please no. I don't want this to be my reality. Please, Gladiators, secure the win. That would be awful. All right, we got a couple more things we gotta rush through. 6 minutes, guys, until I have to go to my rehearsal. Custa just lost audio, I think. We can't hear Custa anymore. Audio issue, man. We got members Q&A. We dropped, if you're a member of Plat Chat, every week I drop a question on the YouTube channel, and you can ask your questions, and we can talk about them. So we got a few questions this week. Is this week's question? No, that's last week's questions. First one, which Plat Chat regular would win in a free-for-all cage mat? And because Johnny has cleared the answer, who'd be second place?
Skip.
I
Bias,
say
not Zhous.
bias
It's
I
not
question.
say who
Zhous.
would lose. The loser will be Matt, Mr.X. Boom, done, mic drop.
Yeah,
He's not a regular anymore, though.
that's
Okay,
true.
I don't know if we were
actually,
going
yeah.
historical or like just.
Out of
current or what.
Larsson, Connor.
I think that Avast
Did
is
Scott
like...
just leave?
Yeah, he did. He just left. I think Avast is like a dark horse to win their entire thing, because I think that Avast would come up with like cheap tricks and things to just like mess with your opponents, and like Avast like starts throwing sand in my
yeah, there you
eyes.
go.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh
100%.
Looks like a sand thrower.
yeah, Avast looks like a sand thrower. I feel like he'd be the dark horse here. Custa,
I'm back.
you've been talking about boxing and stuff like that in the event. Maybe,
Dude, those checks boxing, like those boxing events seem fun. I would love to do one of those because it would just give me incentive to train. I want to fight Matt. I also think me fighting Matt would be
I
hilarious.
would pay to see that
Dude,
shit.
I would love to
fucking
beat the shit out of
pay.
Matt. But here's the thing. I think Matt would come at me with like the fists of fury. I feel like Matt would come at me hard, but Matt also wouldn't trade. So I would probably just outlast him. I'd just run away for like, the entire fight.
100%.
Is cage match just like that's MMA, right? So it's not like boxing or anything. So I mean,
Yeah,
I was
MMA,
thinking
UFC.
like ladders and chairs coming out from the crowds and stuff. I was
Probably
thinking WWE style.
shit.
yeah,
Second place, I mean, probably Connor, right? Probably.
Yeah,
if you're the real answer.
Yeah,
probably.
probably.
Johnny just out the reach from Johnny is too much though. He's got reach on all of us.
You just gotta keep running.
the issue.
Keep running away.
I'd fight
run
you,
away for
Custa,
10
but there'd be
minutes.
no gimmick. It'd just be two tall white guys fighting.
Just another fight.
There's no.
The gimmick is we hide a chainsaw, and then the first one to find it wins.
So it's hiding. It's like prop
dark.
hunt, but
Yeah,
with,
prop
with
hunt, but there's a
boxing.
Oh my
chainsaw, and one of you is gonna die.
All right.
There is no second place.
We got two more questions here. Next up, who is the best Genji in the league currently or all time, whatever? So if you want to go Haksal, you can. If you want to go Kevster, you can.
Haksal.
If you want to go Alpha Yi, I don't care.
I'm gonna say Who Are You because across all regions and times, I think like Who Are You was fucking pounding on Genji in 2017. Obviously biased because he fucking pounded me. Weird champ.
Wait a second. Hang on. What? Wait.
He
No,
was
base,
also
base,
good in
base.
he's also good in the league, and he won a championship. So
I think all time is Who Are You because Haksal didn't get to play much in the league.
Yeah,
Who Are You
dude,
didn't
that
actually
was
want
such a
shit.
scam.
Um,
Goats was actually a scam. Imagine
I thought you
having
said Haksal
Haksal on
was a
your
scam,
team,
but-
and then he has to play Brig. But he was one of the best Brigs, to be fair.
I think
Fuck
right
me.
now, like in 2023, right now, based on the players who have played some Genji this year, the most impressive looking Genji is actually Alpha Yi. Like
Yeah, I
on a
agree.
mechanical level,
Easy.
Yeah.
he looks like the most impressive Genji currently, is what I'll say.
I'm going to say EQO. No bias. Love EQO. Shout out to him. I miss him. I wish EQO was in the league. I love watching EQO.
yeah, he like kind of disappeared. He was just a fun player to watch. He was either gonna feast or famine, but it was just entertaining.
I tried to find that Dragon Blade the other day against Paris Eternal in 2020. And if you just go on Twitter and search EQO Dragon Blade, there are like tons of Dragon Blade highlights that come up from like 2018, 2019. It was crazy.
It's still probably to this day one of the best clutches that's ever happened in Overwatch.
Yeah.
Like it was.
It is the best clutch.
Yeah,
I'm willing to say
it's
it
probably
is the best clutch.
Yeah. Dude, did you guys almost see Dove's like Dove was actually
Almost
kind
hit
of
the
close
5K.
Yeah.
to
Yes.
a 1v5 tracer play.
Yeah.
Like he was
On
close.
Junkertown, yeah.
If he got that melee and then got a like if he reloaded, lived
Got
long
the
enough
mini.
to kill both those other people, got the mini, he could have
Yeah.
1v5 clutch.
Yeah.
Like it would have been crazy.
That would have been the greatest clutch of all time.
Yeah.
It
What
would have been
about-
top 3 for sure.
What about
and
Prophet
that
Tracer
to come from
Hanamura,
Dove would
Grand
have been
Finals?
crazy.
Grand
Which
Finals,
one?
Prophet Tracer, Hanamura? Not Hanamura, Volskaya.
That wasn't really like clutch though. I wouldn't say that was
this
like
one,
this. Like
Okay.
this moment here, this is a clutch. This is
Yeah.
overtime.
Pulse.
About to lose
His
the
whole
map,
team's dead.
Come in.
and
One
he's like
clip.
just bossing around.
Benjamin City.
Actually, I don't think this was it. I think this is
No, this is it.
was that it?
That was it. That was it. Yeah.
No, because
That
the
was it.
Ana, I thought the Ana was like,
I don't know.
No,
I
the
don't know,
Ana was
but
dead, the Brig was dead.
if you saw it from the overhead and you could see people's health bars, it was close. Like it
Yeah.
was,
Two people were melee.
yeah.
Two people were melee.
People are actually reminding us of a lot of plays here. The headshot after headshot that was Shanghai coming out of
That
spawn on
wasn't
Kings
that
Row.
wasn't a great. That was a cool play, but it wasn't a clutch.
No,
Headshot
was
play,
it in
jump.
overtime or was it like time
It was in
remaining?
overtime, but like his team was alive, right? Like in my
Okay.
opinion,
Yeah.
clutches are when like you are literally the only person alive to like close out a map.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Carpe Widow on Li Jiang. That's going way back. I can't remember the scenario, the situation that was in either. But if it's like you're talking about 1 versus 4, 1 versus 5,
Actually,
that
Shu
dove play
Havana.
could have been it.
True Havana was a good one as
versus
well.
Chengdu.
Like
Yeah,
most
that
of
was
his team was
crazy.
dead. Yeah, yeah.
That's a crazy place too. But I'm still willing to say the EQO Blade was the number 1 clutch because it was just
Yeah.
bizarre. We got one more question here. Throughout all of Overwatch League, what has been the biggest gap between the best and second best teams? 2019 Stage 2 Shocking Goats, 2019 Playoffs Shock, 2021 Playoffs Dragons. So what was like the most dominant? I'm just gonna
2021
say it.
playoffs Dragons. I think it has
Same.
to be.
Yep, same.
They're the
Really?
That,
Okay.
that
yeah.
we were like we went into that grand finals day, and even Atlanta like looked like they were like, "Yep, we did it, guys. We finished second." Like they were just dramatically better than everyone else in the field.
Yeah,
Like wasn't even
true.
close.
Yeah. Probably then. Either that or like a goats.
Did they drop a map?
goats era team, the shock one, or even
The
Titans. at
finals?
that
I don't
point
think they
too.
did.
Overwatch.
I will say, lest we not forget, 2018 New York Excelsior. I don't care that you can make all bunch of different arguments
They
about
dropped
like
maps.
beating up on bad teams and stuff. They went 34-6 in the regular season.
Yeah.
They dropped.
That's kind of crazy.
They dropped. They started the season 27-3, and there was literally something called Jonak syndrome because other Senyas in the league tried to
was,
get the resources he had. So
Question.
They were so
What was the Vancouver start in season 2? What was their record before it got broken?
Uh,
It was 21 and 0,
season 2?
20 something and 0.
No, I thought it was like 18 because remember, didn't Shock beat it recently? Remember, because we had that in
Shock did beat it
2022.
recently.
Shock beat it recently at like 19 or something like that. So it was like 18 or something like that.
Yeah, that was pretty strong as well. But they didn't play like Shock. Like Shock was always there, you know.
Yeah.
Which is like so. If you're strictly talking about the question, Shock was always there to like counterplay.
I don't think they played
I'm
in the
late to my
regular
meeting
season.
now, so we need
Okay.
Bren's player of the week, and then I gotta go
Okay,
because I'm late to an official
Avalla
work
is
thing.
Bren's
This is
player of
bad.
the week.
Avalla, really?
No.
Okay.
I would
I
like to
actually
give
don't
it to
have
all
one.
the developers who tried to work and make this thing go, but didn't end up getting the PVE out there. We're here and we support you as much as we're disappointed and we're.
Custa's mic cut out.
Little bro lost the video again.
You tried so hard to say something nice and complimentary and wholesome, and you just cut out. But yes, Custa, we agree. The developers who put their passion into this, it's not their fault that they're all changing the course on PvE. It's not their fault that all of this stuff is, you know, changing in front of them. They're working hard every day. They're trying to make a living, support their families, support themselves in this economic phase. So shout out to all the developers because we have a lot of love for them and hope for them, and we want Overwatch to be good as much as they do. So shout out to all the developers. It's not your fault. We wish we could celebrate the game with you instead of having these conversations. Here we go.
Okay.
Shout out
I'm okay with that.
Manscaped. 20% off. Use code Plat Chat.
Go to manscaped.com. 20% off, free shipping with code PLATCHAT. Use the code PLATCHAT. PLATCHAT is the code that will save you lots of money. Use PLATCHAT when you check out, and you'll have clean balls, my friends. That's it for Plat Chat episode 178. See you later. Sayonara. Bye.